Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bxb'S Bits and Bobs, episode 39, part 2 of our Game of the Year deliberations. And if you are perchance listening to this first, or you've not heard the first part, go back and listen to the first part. It'll make a lot more sense if you do that. We've already recorded for 3 hours today. We're back for probably about another 3 hours now. So, yeah, this is getting down to the nitty-gritty, down to the sharp ends of the lists. Only the best categories are left. But before we get into that, let me introduce the team that's with us today. We have reviews editor Richard Worrell.
Good afternoon, or whatever time it is.
Well, you're 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
You've just come home drunk from the club. You put some Bxb Games podcasts on because what else would you do in that situation? Obviously. In addition to that, we have Joel Summerfield, Home Counties editor.
Yo.
And I am your host, the impresario of Bxb, Ben Hall. So before we get into the categories, guys, I did warn you. I wonder if you did your homework in your half an hour or hour lunch break, which we just had. What games are you guys looking forward to in the upcoming year? Anything on your horizon?
A funny pattern emerged when I did that, Ben. The 3 games that I want, see if you can work out what the pattern is.
Go on.
Shadow of the Colossus.
Mm.
Bayonetta 2.
Okay, yeah.
And Dark Souls.
So they're all remakes,
re-releases.
remasters. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh dear, Richard. Oh dear. Bayonetta 2, not Bayonetta 3.
Well, Bayonetta
That probably
2's
won't be
first,
this year,
isn't
will it?
Yeah, I don't
Bayonetta
think
3 is
that'll
not going to be this year, is it?
No.
I mean, for me, I'd say Anthem, but I'm not sure I genuinely think that'll be out this year. You know,
Yeah.
so
I think you're hoping.
I think that's unlikely, isn't it? Or how about Red Dead Redemption 2? I also don't think that's going to make this year. So, I mean, realistically, I'm quite looking forward to Monster Hunter World, which is out in a couple of next month or something. I've not really ever played a proper Monster Hunter game, so I'm kind of looking forward to giving that
I was going to say,
a
that's
shake
not
for the first time.
That's not your sort of thing. Are you actually going to do that?
I'm going to try it out. Yeah. I'm trying to diversify and try games. You not notice from playing games like Dream Daddy, Zelda, Mario, shit like that. These are all games that I wouldn't normally have played, but I am trying to try other genres out and play games that get outside of my comfort zone.
Get away with that. Yeah, I'm playing Mario and Zelda just for some fringe interests.
Well, it's never been a thing for me. I don't have a nostalgic love for Mario and Zelda games. So for me, yeah, getting into a Nintendo console with Switch and stuff was quite a big deal, really. I felt like a bit like a kiddie gamer again, but it's been nice. It's been nice. What about you, Joel?
Let's see, what have we got coming up? I'm quite looking forward to Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know.
It's been the first time I've ever actually played that. So
there's no point. Nothing like owning a game about 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously Nintendo did a very, very, very early tease of a new Metroid title. I kind of wonder if that might make 2018.
No.
A little bit excited about that.
No.
I don't think we'll even see anything of it this year.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment, but I don't know.
It's difficult. There hasn't been a huge amount announced, so there's not a massive amount out there, and I don't want to just bring up a Wikipedia page. Maybe we'll do something with that in a future podcast. There's
one title I'm looking forward to. There's a new Ace Combat game coming out, PSVR. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think that should be pretty awesome. Those were always good fun games, very arcadey flight sims. So could be really cool in VR. Yeah,
might add that to my Amazon wish list alongside some sick bags.
Well, it's for the true flying experience. Yeah, vomit comet coming your way. Right, let's get into the categories then. Back in we go to best multiplayer. I'll give you the list. Nidhogg 2, F1 2017, WWE 2K18, Destiny 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, Injustice 2, Crawl, Arms, Splatoon 2, and the winner of the category, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. which I think it's fair to say immediately that's the winner. And I'm going to put the orange around that immediately for the top 3 pick on our spreadsheet here. And the number 1 next to it. So really, this is a debate of positions 2 and 3 on the list more than anything. Yeah, I think that's that's fair, isn't it?
I'm not going to
We
fight.
can probably talk a bit to justify why PUBG is obviously the best.
Well, PUBG is the most fun I've had in multiplayer in this generation. I think it's fair to say, and I had a really good time with both of you guys, and I'm always looking forward to playing more. It's gonna get discussed a lot in the final category, I think, as well, of the day. As for the game of the year, it's my number 1 on my top 10 list. You can hear all our top 10 lists or read them as well on the website, but also we discussed them in the beginning of the first episode. It's got problems, but the actual fun to be had outweighs them every single time.
Well, it's not finished, is it? It's in the version we've played. It's in pre-release on Xbox. It does have problems, but God, the games that we've played together have been phenomenal.
Yep.
I'm noticing an omission from this list, though.
Go on.
Splatoon 2.
Well, if it's an omission, it's because you didn't put it on the list.
Well, I'm putting it on.
Feel free to add to the list, but yeah, that it wasn't. I mean, it was fine. I got it with the Switch. I got the Splatoon 2 bundle. I hadn't played Splatoon 1. I thought it was fine. It didn't really grab me.
You need to play Splatoon 1. I understand.
No.
Essentially the same game. But I played a lot of Splatoon 2 and had a great time with it. So I think that deserves to be on the list.
It made your top 10 list, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's fair enough. Anything on here, Joel? You would add, change, remove?
No, I think my multiplayer highlight is on there. Obviously, it's just picking number 2 and 3. That's going to be. Let's get into it. Let's start the discussions because it's
okay. So you guys haven't played Nidhogg, have you?
No. So that's obviously not there.
Oh well, fuck you. It's not my fault you haven't played one of the coolest fucking couch multiplayer games and now online multiplayer games ever created. Do you guys even know what it is?
Is it about pigs?
I thought it was a breed of pig.
You don't even know Nidhogg. Okay, so Nidhogg is the first game was just a 2D kind of like dueling game in which you had like swords and you had to run in the opposite direction across multiple screens, and the person that made it all the way to the other end would win that match. And the opponent's job was to stop you getting to that exit and going in the opposite direction. So you'd always be like fighting each other and chasing each other. And then in Nidhogg 2, it's more of that formula with more weapon choices, crazier levels, and a different art style. And it's absolutely mental, but so much fun. It's so much fun in multiplayer. It's only multiplayer. But yeah, if you've not experienced it, I recommend checking it out. I really, really do. Okay, but I will cut that because I'm by myself there. F1 2017. To be honest, I'm not. I really like F1 2017, but it has the same problem, if not more so, with every sort of multiplayer racing game. Like you'll notice that Forza isn't on this list, and the reason that there's always a problem, especially if it's in a more sim-like racing game, is the problem of people not doing it properly in multiplayer. So it's like if you're racing like, bumper cars with F1 cars, it's going to be a very short, very frustrating race. It's fun to do with a mate like me and you, Joel. We did some, didn't we? We did some racing. That's right, isn't it? We did. I
don't think I haven't played it with anybody.
Haven't you? Oh, maybe we didn't then. I thought we had.
No, I think we always wanted to, but we never got around to the time.
So I think perhaps F1 2017 is better by yourself than it is in multiplayer.
F1 2017, that memorable video game experience.
I know I did it with someone. Shut up, guys. Good enough.
He's done it with someone.
Not just myself. Not just myself. WWE 2K18. Yeah, it's fucking. It's fun in multiplayer. It's fun in multiplayer because it's kind of like you just accept the jank and it's less of an issue because it's just silly and it's just knockabout and dumb and Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I was honestly kind of struggling a little bit to think of decent multiplayer games to put on here when I was putting this list together. I'm not a massive multiplayer gamer. I don't think any of us really are, except like the love of Battlegrounds. I don't think I've put like a lot of time into much in the way of multiplayer this year. Obviously,
more co-op. I would say.
Well, yeah. So talking of co-op, multiplayer. This counts. Destiny 2. Obviously, that was our third place pick for most disappointing game. However, you can't really fault the multiplayer experience to be had in Destiny 2 in co-op, where the party system where everything works great, and going out there and playing that game with friends is really how that game is meant to be played. You shouldn't really be, if you can avoid playing Destiny 2 single player, then you should. If you can play it with a crew, a group of people that you play with regularly, have really good fun that way, that is 100% the best way of doing it, in my opinion. And I think Destiny 2, does it just as well as the first Destiny. The only downside, I think, with Destiny is that it's only 3 players, isn't it? And it'd be nice if you could have larger squads.
3 or 6, isn't it? Depending on what you actually
do. I
suppose
but, the raid.
To be honest, though, I have to say, even in 4-player games, every time I want to sort of play a 4-player game, there always seems to be 5 of you. Or, when we wanted to play Battlegrounds before they allowed 3-man squads, there was always like 3 of you, and you could either do a duo or hope matchmaking work. So I won't fault them much for that, because there always seems to be just one number less. You have
to pick an amount, don't you? I suppose, and build your game around it. There has to be you have to make a choice. Okay, I won't put that one in red yet, but we'll leave it. I mean, let's talk about some of the obvious ones then. Star Wars Battlefront 2. That game is all about that multiplayer, so I think that's a strong contender for second place. It's accessible. The differences to the original, where they brought in the squad, not the squads, the class system. I think that's massively improved the game. And once you get the hang of the game and understand the leveling up systems, fight your way through the loot crate bullshit, the actual game, it's got faster loading times than the original did. You get into matches very quickly now. I've never had any net code problems, never had any dropouts, and always have a really good time in those big, in those massive battles, basically. Yeah, it feels like you're in Star Wars. I mean, and that's pretty fucking cool, isn't it?
It seems really reasonably balanced as well. There's always a good shot of you actually winning a game. It never becomes a slog, does it? It's just good fun.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy it. Yeah,
it's not too bad, is it? I've had some good fun multiplayer matches as that, and it's quite enjoyable. Always has quite an arcadey feel. I always think Battlefield always feels a bit more kind of serious, and Battlefront just feels a bit more relaxed, and you can kind of get in there and
yeah. I mean, I always
with it.
Yeah, I was playing third person, for example, and stuff, and I'm not too bothered about playing badly. It's just very relaxed, isn't it, and very accessible. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. I think that's a bit of an underrated gem. That was last year, wasn't it? It wasn't the year before. I'm not going crazy.
No, I think it was last year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like go back to that game again and again, drop in and out, like play a bit, do a little bit. I had some fun playing with Richard and his wife. That was pretty amusing. We were really annoying Richard because he was trying to do a mission, and we kept ruining it for him, and like because he had to be stealthy, and at one point I dropped a helicopter on the place that he was trying to be stealthy in, and he didn't appreciate that. That failed the mission.
You've got your exit strategy. Here it is. Come in.
Well, like, because you can do this thing in Ghost Recon where you can fly up like in your helicopter and then just jump out and parachute. Yeah. So I did that, and I dropped the helicopter right on this like compound that he was trying to be stealthy in, and it failed. Strangely enough, it failed the mission.
I think that game's really all about the multiplayer. I played it single player, and you get so far until you realize every region is just the same, the same stuff, and the progression system's a bit annoying. You don't just earn experience points; you then have to get the relevant com points and stuff to unlock the skills. But I kind of waned on it after I got to about the 3rd region in single player. But I can imagine as soon as you squad up with some mates, and you can make your own fun in that game.
The weird thing is, it's harder in multiplayer than it is in single player. Because in single player, you just upgrade your squad to have the 3 sync shot thing ability. You just go into any area with enemies, tag all the enemies, line up the sync shots, tell them to fire, wait 20 seconds, do it again, tell them to fire. And you literally never have to personally engage anyone if you don't want to. So you can just... Sorry?
Right.
Oh, I think we've lost Richard again. He was just about to say something, but he's frozen out on us. But yeah, so it's strange because in multiplayer, because you can't do that, you have to properly like work much more closely
And they don't.
with your team. So
He's
back. Were you going to add a comment then, Richard? Sorry, because we lost you again.
Yeah, just on your point that it's easier in single player. That's true, mainly because you're not dropping helicopters.
Hey, look, it's a valid tactic. Maybe not when you're trying to do a stealth mission, but in every other kind of mission, totally valid. Just drop a helicopter on a dude's head. Works. We never did beat the Predator, Richard, did we?
Oh no, we still haven't done that. We'll have to do that.
I thought you said it was going to be gone or something by now, wasn't it?
Late January, I think.
Late January. All right, maybe we've got a little bit of time. We should try and defeat the Predator. But no, I think that's a bit of an underrated game. That's this thing Ubisoft is now doing is they're massively supporting their releases. And I know Ghost Recon has had a huge amount of patches. They've got a whole new PvE mode's been added to the game, which is not like 100 players, but there's like a survival kind of game thing they're putting in there. So they're doing a lot, which I kind of, I really respect that they're supporting their titles so much. It's really cool. So I think that's a consideration there. Injustice 2, easily the best fighting game of last year, without a doubt.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, people that know are playing Street Fighter 5, aren't they?
Are they? I thought there was a lot of problems with Street Fighter 5. A lot of people dropped off of that because of the really piss poor Capcom sort of fiasco around it.
That's when it came out, but that's like 2 years ago, isn't it?
All right, well, that didn't come out last year, did it, Richard?
Well, the new stuff did, like the new character sets and that. Does that
count?
No,
but this is no. The game has to have come out last year, and so Injustice 2 is the best fighting game of last year. And
all right, Freddy's.
It's great online. It's a fully featured sort of multiplayer suite that works really, really well. And there's loads of DLC characters available now, and it's just really good fun. It's really good fun. Injustice 2 did come out last year, didn't it? I'm not getting them backwards or something, am I? I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Yeah, there's been so many games. It's almost like you lose track, isn't it? Like I keep forgetting that all these amazing titles came out. Joel, do you want to talk about Crawl?
Oh, this is. I guess this falls under a similar category to Nidhogg. Really, this is brilliant. This is a little couch co-op thing, and hopefully they'll patch some multiplayer into it. But as a couch co-op game, it's just pure genius. It's 3 of you play the dead, 1 of you plays the living. The dead can possess various items in the living player moves around floors of a dungeon and the rooms on each floor, and in each room's objects or enemies that the dead can possess to try and kill the living player. The living players try to loot money, get as much cash and upgrade his items so he can go fight teleport and fight the boss and win the game. And yeah, as the undead, you just literally just trying to kill this guy. Whoever manages to kill him then becomes the living player, and he swaps back to the dead. And yeah, it just goes round and round and round, and you'll fight the boss. It's great fun. It's brilliant. It's kind of got a nice little pixel art style to it. It's pretty quick. It's fast paced. It's not so much fun offline. The AI's just not as fun as playing it with friends. I've played it with I sat down with our friend Mark and played it for quite a while. When I was up with him, had a good crack, had a good laugh on that. So, but yeah, it's a good experience and stuff. But I don't think you guys have played it, so I'm not sure I'm going to manage to sell you on it.
I have it, but I've yet to play it. Sadly, I've not booted it up. I should do.
What's it on? Is it just PC?
No, it's Xbox.
Xbox, yeah.
Is
it? Arms. Who put Arms on? I thought Arms wasn't meant to be very good.
Me. I put it on. I've had some brilliant multiplayer just with my board game group. Before we start board game, we were waiting for everyone to turn up. We all bring our Switches, and yeah, we've been playing Arms multiplayer. Like, the funny thing is, like, it's great fun playing Arms multiplayer, but it's almost even funnier watching people play Arms multiplayer, because everyone's just standing there going like this, just like mentally and trying to hit each other and stuff. And it's actually, when you get good at it, it's really strategical as well. There's a lot of strategy in that game. Once you get used to the controls and trying to punch people's arms out of the thing, out the sky as they're punching you and stuff. And yeah, it's really good fun.
Okay.
And plus there are, it's not always just you v the other people. You also get boss fights, so all 4 of you can work in co-op to try and beat down one big boss with like 6 arms and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So I'm going to suggest a 3 now, based on our discussions here. and tell me what you guys think. Number 1, PUBG. Number 2, Star Wars, Battlefront. Number 3, Destiny 2.
Personally, I would put Destiny before Battlefront 2. Purely on the virtue that I've played a lot more Destiny than I have Battlefront.
Richard? He's muted himself for some reason. He doesn't. He looks confused. He's muted himself, but he doesn't know why. He's got. You're off mute now. Sorry. What do you think, Rich?
I would say the same as Joel, except the complete opposite. I played.
So you like what I said?
Destiny. So
but you guys agree on those 3?
Oh, who cares? Let's talk about Battlegrounds. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah, I was kind of going to say, like, you know, where we're at now, we're picking 3, but really there's only 1.
Yeah.
Like, if I could put Battlegrounds in all 3 places, I would, because it is the only multiplayer game
you can. Let's do that. Let's do it. There was Battlegrounds version 1, Battlegrounds version. Oh no, it's not even version 1. It's 0.5. Yeah, 0.51 and 0.52 in that order.
Richard, thoughts? He's gone quiet.
Actually, I've got it better. I've got a better idea. It's Battlegrounds 4-player squad in first place, Battlegrounds duo in second place, and Battlegrounds solo in last place.
Do you know what? That's actually, I quite like that.
Yeah.
Except I'd probably put duo above squad.
Oh,
yeah.
I'd go duo squad solo.
I would go with that.
Just because I actually, to be honest, that is interesting. We should talk about that briefly, because each one of the modes, which isn't a mode, it's just a player count, but each one is such a different experience from the other. It's weird when you try to explain to somebody who hasn't played Battlegrounds. They look at you like you're crazy. But yeah, playing solo, playing in a duo, or playing in a squad is almost like 3 different games, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy. It's like your strategies are completely different. Your tactics are different. Where you choose to land on the map is different. It's bizarre how much of an effect that aspect of the multiplayer there has. So I think because of that, yeah, we're going. All right, I'm down with this, but I'd go duo squad solo. Yeah.
Okay, we're not seriously going to do that though, are we?
We can. It's our website. We can do what we fucking like. Because in a way, I can understand the argument, because honestly, while Battlefront 2 is a lot of fun, do I want to play it over Battlegrounds at any point? No. Destiny 2 had some good co-op there at the beginning, and we all played and stuff and had a good time. But right now, would I load that up over Battlegrounds? No. You know, there's just no way I'd choose Battlegrounds over, you know, ever, like, as Joel, not one game to play.
Do you not play Splatoon 2?
I have played it, but I don't think I've played enough of it. I did enjoy the multiplayer on Splatoon 2, and I did join in one of the events with the where you're split into 2 teams right back when it launched. Yeah, so yeah, one of the Splatfests. That's right. But I Splatoon 2, I haven't played enough of it. I want to play more of it, and I no doubt will as we kind of wear out of arms a bit and move on to a different multiplayer game on the Switch. But yeah, I've just not got there yet. So, but it is really good. I played Splatoon a fair bit on the Wii U, and that's really good as well.
I had a good time playing Splatoon 2. It just didn't. I didn't feel like there was enough there to keep me interested. There's not enough depth in the combat or the loadouts or the maps. The maps, you know, are very, very small. It just didn't grab me. And they've done some weird things with, like, their co-op mode is a timed event that's not always running, and I didn't like that. And I also, when I got involved with the Splatfest, the first Splatfest, after the mate, I was quite looking forward to it. And then because I picked the side everybody picked, we always just ended up playing against other people that I picked that, so none of it mattered. And it just felt like that's a poor implementation of the design. If it's a 50-50 choice and everybody picks A, then it does, or 90% of people pick A, your matches don't really count towards it. So that it actually turned out the B team, they won because they were having more chances to actually register their games. everything they did always went up against the AE side. So every time they won, it mattered more. So if I very rarely ever went up against the B side. So none of my matches ever mattered. So it didn't really encourage me to do it, which I think is a bit of a shame the way that's been done.
It is really well balanced in gameplay terms, though. I mean, the Splatfest can be a bit odd. I'm not sure how it works it out, but just for
it felt fun. But no, gameplay is gameplay, and I love the fact that it's a shooter, not about shooting each other.
Hmm.
You know, I think, or at least the core mode anyway. And it's just, I like that. And it's got a great art style. Love it. And the music is great as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't, it's not Battlegrounds. Sorry.
No, but you know, if we're putting together a list of 3, and you've said that there's a couple of other games there that you wouldn't play them over PUBG.
I wouldn't play any of the games on this list over PUBG.
But Splatoon 2, it's not a toss-up between that and PUBG, is it? Because if you're playing on your Switch, you ain't going to be playing PUBG. So I think it fills a nice slot for multiplayer. On
like a portable multiplayer shooter. Yeah, I can kind of see the argument for that, I suppose. I just like Joel's idea. I do. Look, you tell me.
PUBG at 1 is no contest. It has to be at the top. Splatoon 2 second for me, and then Battlefront third.
What do you think, Joel?
But I could, I've got PUBG at the top, and then after that, I'm not quite sure. I think I would be kind of like, from my personal thing, I've got ARMS in there because I've played a lot of it this year, and I've had some real good fun with that with the friends. And and then maybe Destiny. I have played that. I did enjoy my time playing it. I just don't know why I don't want to play it anymore.
Yeah, we talked about that before, didn't we? I mean, the trouble I'm having is that you're talking about your personal experiences. I played a lot of Injustice 2. Like, I think that's a really, really good fighting game. It's accessible, it's deep at the same time, it looks amazing, and the multiplayer just works really well. And it's really hard to make a game like that work as well as it does in multiplayer. With no noticeable problems with connections and things like that. I don't feel like I'm going to win that argument, much in the way I don't think you'll win your ARMS argument. I mean, at least we've all played some Splatoon 2. I'm just not sure I'd put Battlefront 2 over Destiny. I mean, to me, it'd be PUBG, Battlefront, and Destiny would be the 3.
Splatoon is definitely better than Battlefront, though.
You reckon?
Yeah, and I really like.
If you're talking about in the sort of accessible shooter niche, you think Splatoon 2 is a bit more. I think Splatoon 2 is definitely more creative and inventive than Battlefront 2, but nothing
more accessible as well, because, like you say, it's not a shooter about shooting people.
Yeah, well,
you don't have to be a marksman. You can just have fun spraying everywhere.
There's an argument to and for against that, isn't there? Because it's like, you're saying that it's a more accessible shooter because it's not about shooting people. Then again, if you buy a shooter in this day and age, doesn't everybody expect to be shooting people? So you're saying this Splatoon 2 is a better shooter for people that don't play shooters?
I'm saying it's a better multiplayer game. I'm not saying it's a better shooter, because it isn't really a shooter. It's it feels to me that more people can get something out of Splatoon because you're in and out in 3 minutes. There's not too many choices. I think that works to its favor, that it limits you to a couple of maps per half hour or something, and then it recycles the maps every so often. So everyone's playing the same sort of maps. It gets you used to what you're playing. It's
Isn't that a design choice based on the fact that they know they're going to have a low player count, so they don't want to fragment the playlists?
Well, I hadn't thought of it that way. I mean, whatever the reason, I mean, I found playing broader multiplayer experiences on console where there's 10, 15 different maps, and you don't know any foothold.
Oh dear. He's got frozen again, Joel. I'm sure it was a good point he was making.
So what he was about to say was that he really likes it, but he still thinks that we should just go with Pugber.
Yes, clearly that is where his thought was going.
We could see it.
You could see it coming up behind his eyes that he was just going to say, no, screw it. It should just be PUBG everywhere. That's right, yeah, Rich.
No.
You've got problems with your connection, buddy. I don't know.
I've got a new modem. I think it must be that.
It seems to be behaving very strangely. Yeah, you keep freezing up. It seems to be worse than even earlier.
Not a Virgin Media super hub, is it, Richard?
Yes.
I know what your problem is. I'll tell. Or when we finish with the podcast, we can talk about it.
Thank you.
Right. This is different. This is more difficult than it should be. I want to do one of two things. I either want PUBG in all three, or I want Battlefront and Destiny. I don't want.
No, I don't know. I think there might be some merit to rewarding Splatoon over Battlefront and Destiny. You know, look at least they've all got 2 in the name, haven't they? But I think Splatoon 2 isn't too far away from what Splatoon 1 was, but it's the fact that Splatoon 1 never really, because of the Wii U and its poor performance, didn't really get to the market. So people never really got to experience. So for a lot of people, Splatoon 2 is actually Splatoon.
Okay, so PUBG, Destiny 2, Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are we happy with that, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's just talk about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds at number 1.
But how long have you got? Do we want to talk about it for the next
no, I can do that.
I can do that.
No, we'll talk about it later on. So
we will talk about it quite a lot later on. It's my number 1 game of the year. So, and who would have thought? Mr. Narrative Gamer here. I picked a multiplayer game for my number 1 game of the year. So that says a lot. Right. So best multiplayer is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, as if there was ever any doubt there wasn't. Then followed by Destiny 2 and Splatoon 2, because Richard makes a good argument even when he breaks up halfway through it.
Thank you.
All right. So we move on to best visuals. Now, this isn't like style, though it is, but it isn't. This is more about fidelity and art design, I think we should say. How does that sound to you guys when we're talking about best visuals? Does that make sense?
It feels more like technical performance, doesn't it? So more than just how good was the artist, how good was the 3D modeler, how good is the engine, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. No, I like that. Technical. It's like a technical award for visual presentation. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we have Pyre, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Battle Chasers Night War, Forza Motorsport 7, Destiny 2, Assassin's Creed Origins, Super Mario Odyssey, Star Wars Battlefront 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, Mass Effect Andromeda, Injustice 2, Little Nightmares, and Ruiner. And I would like to suggest immediately that we cut Battle Chasers Night War.
Okay. You put it on there, so fine.
I did put it on there, but I don't think it fits quite in the category as we are defining it now.
Yeah.
So I would also suggest Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Well, whose is that? Is that Joel's?
I don't think so. I think mine are nearer the bottom of the list. I think I only added 1 item to that list, actually.
Okay. I would take out Mario and Rabbids.
Okay. I think there's some real technical marvels on here, which we will come round to in a moment. But let's try and get rid of a few more. Ruiner looks really nice, but I don't think it's pushing the envelope in any way.
No. Are we really having Mass Effect Andromeda on this list?
Dude, it looks good. It does look really good in places.
Yeah, when the eyes stay in the head.
Yeah, if you're talking about a wider kind of technical thing, then just like, the use of HDR, which is implemented quite nicely in Mass Effect Andromeda and things like that. It has some very nice environmental artwork as well. Some really nice art design for things like the vaults, for the different alien races that we've got. There's some nice looks to them, like the way the Ket ships are designed. The Tempest looks good. I guess. I mean, as an environment inside and out as well. But no, I think, to be honest, considering it's the most disappointing game of the year, I kind of put it on here as an acknowledgement of the whole, not the whole thing was a train wreck, but no, it's not. It's not making the top 3, is it? So it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, no, I thought it looked quite bad.
Did you really?
In comparison to Battlefront 2, which is made in the same engine, I think Battlefront 2 is leagues ahead of Andromeda. I mean, there are some nice scenic moments in Andromeda. Sort of, I think was it the icy planet? We've got the sort of aurora borealis up in the sky and stuff. There was some beautiful, like, kind of moments.
Vistas and skyboxes and stuff. Very nice.
Yeah, I can remember sort of some quite funky character.
I'm sure it's got its moments, but the lingering impression for me was of just shonky animations, and it just looks very rough.
Like me after a night out.
Yeah.
All squiggly eyes and half bad resolution. Right. I'm going to say Little Nightmares off the list.
Yeah, I think considering... Yeah, I think I added that one, and what I think I meant to do was add it to the best style, which I also seemingly did. But yeah,
that worked. Now, this is an interesting one. I think Pyre has a better style than it does visuals. I mean, it's most of the visual, or not most, but a large portion of Pyre's visuals are 2D. So the rights themselves are 3D, but everything else is like a visual novel presentation almost. So there's a lot of text and there's a lot of 2D artwork, but it's not really a technical marvel. Do you know what I mean? It's not really doing something in that area. How'd you guys all right with me cutting that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Okay, I've suggested a bunch now to whittle it down, but let's hear from you guys now. Give me an argument for or against, whatever you like.
Oh, it's getting tougher now, isn't it?
That's why I've stopped doing it.
In Injustice 2, I don't know if I was that impressed with it visually.
Really? Have you played it on the X?
Yeah. And it was fine. I was just expecting more from it. I think because it's a one-on-one fighter, I thought there'd be a lot more detail in it than there is.
There's loads of... slightly confused. I think really high resolution, really pretty character models, very nice background animations and background sort of locations that look really, really good.
I don't know what it was. It all felt a bit weightless to me. There didn't seem to be any substance to it.
What I also find impressive visually is that you've got all of that customization, and that means the characters can end up looking very, very different to each other. Everything from different shaders to all the armor pieces you put on it, and I think the fact that they've all been modeled and all look different on the characters is quite impressive if you think about the amount of work that's gone into that. You know, way beyond what you'd normally find in a fighting game. I think the game looks great. Yeah, the feel. I guess you're either a NetherRealm fighting guy or you're not. Are you a Tekken, a Street Fighter, or a NetherRealm guy? And I like NetherRealm. I like how those games feel more than perhaps any of the others. But I think visually it's quite impressive, to be honest. I don't think it necessarily makes the top 3 though. I mean, I can see some games here that are much more likely.
I don't think it looked bad. It was impressive. Because I played it on the X and thought, yeah, it looks all right, but I don't know, for some reason I thought it'd be more impressive than it was.
Joel.
So
pick one.
The thing is, I'm at the point, well, I'm looking at the list and I think I know what my number 1 is. And I think I kind of know what my number 2 is, and I'm just trying to think which one of the rest is going to make my number 3.
Okay,
let me do a technical achievement. I would probably say that you could cut Mario Odyssey from the list.
What?
It's simplicity, I guess, on the visual textual side of the game. Visually, it just feels like it's a good continuation of Mario Galaxy. It doesn't feel like it's pushing the boundaries per se visually.
I can see where you're coming from. I think it's a very pretty game, and I think it's a very colorful game, which I definitely appreciate in 2017. However, you know, it's difficult for a Switch game to even be considered in this category because the oomph in that machine is so weak in comparison to what we're say getting out of the X's and stuff and the PS4 Pros. So
that's why it's a contender, though.
I don't think it can be in the top 3 with the games that are on this list. It can't hang with some of the visuals that we're getting.
I think Zelda gets more out of the Switch visually.
Yeah,
impact. I don't think that makes the top 3 either, though. Not with this. Not with the competition on here. I don't think either Zelda or Mario can be done for technical, visually, or any of that.
But then you take The Legend of Zelda on the Wii U.
Well, all right. So which one?
Which do you pick out of these?
Which do you pick out of these two? Horizon Zero Dawn or Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild?
They'd both be in my top 3.
No, but you can only pick one, right? So I'm asking you to pick one. Well, which one is better in your opinion? Horizon, yeah. So they're both open world, fantasy set, RPG type games. You know, they're both of the same genre, but one can't even come close visually or, you know, in technical prowess to the other. I mean,
one of them can't play on the bus though.
Well, yeah, no.
Generator.
But that's kind of like an achievement of the Switch. That's not an achievement of the game. That's the fact that the hardware has been positioned in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But you still can't deny the fact that that hardware is inferior when it comes to power compared to, say, a 1X. And if that, you know, Richard, you define this category as technical, you know, visual prowess. Yeah. So you can't put those two in, even they can't hang with the others.
I don't know, because that's very close to saying that the Switch is disqualified entirely. We shouldn't even have any nominations for it.
In this category?
Yeah.
I don't mind us having nominations, even for games you don't think are going to win. It's not about necessarily things winning. It's about discussing the merits of them, which is exactly what we're doing. And I think they should be acknowledged as incredible achievements on their platform of choice, but I don't think they hang with the Horizon Zero Dawns or the Forzas or the Uncharteds or any of the others that we've now got down to on the shorter list, or the ACO. The ACO is another good example of you know, visual, you know, fidelity and technical prowess.
I don't think it's that objective. I think there's still some room for subjectivity here when we talk about what has the best visuals, because that is a perception thing, isn't it? And you did this, you made it technical. Yeah, but I'm now qualifying it to say that what impresses me technically, you also have to consider what is the context of that, and the context is other games that are coming out in the same sort of field, and what platform is it on? What can you expect from that platform?
All right, we cut Mario, but we leave Zelda for now.
I think Zelda has to be there. It's so impressive.
It is. I mean, even I was playing it just yesterday. You've been both playing it today.
I've had it nearly a year. I've played it again today, and I'm still thinking how impressive it looks.
And I mean, beyond just like, is it in 4K or whatever? Beyond that,
yeah,
it is stunning. I mean, walking through a field of grass in that game, looking up at a mountain, seeing one of the towers you need to climb, and it's just stunning. Like, it's gorgeous, isn't it? So,
and that's what counts, isn't it? I mean, we're not Digital Foundry here.
No, and to be honest, they fuck up just as much by the sounds of things nowadays. So, we're still Zelda's on the list. I think we lose Destiny 2. The 4K patch that came out on the X, you know, bumping it all up on HDR and all that, it looks great. Look, the game looks great, but it also looks just a lot like Destiny 1, doesn't it?
It's got a few ropey bits as well. I mean, what's the rig level with all the waves, the sea, and
oh yeah, I haven't been there.
Oh, there you have. It's the
no, I haven't been there since the patch. I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Just the waves look dog shit, don't they? So for that, I'd disqualify it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm disqualifying it because the Destiny is all about the art style rather than the technical prowess. I think, you know, the art style in Destiny is brilliant, but it's been brilliant since the first game because there's so little new content in the second game. All right, let's talk about Forza Motorsport 7, which is, many would argue, especially when the X first came out, this was the showcase for what the One X can do. I actually think Assassin's Creed Origins shows it off better now. But yeah, there are details in that game that blew my mind. When I was driving in cockpit inside the car, and I could see the reflection of the dashboard on the inside of the windshield when in bright sunlight, I was just like, you guys are insane. Why even do that? That's just amazing. It was like I was really there, like the immersion you get from that. Just stunning. The cars look fantastic. Though I think one of you is probably going to argue that, maybe the surroundings don't look that great because they, you tell me. What do you guys think about Forza 7?
Yeah, I think technically impressive, but it's losing some charm somewhere. Charm that probably the 4K patch of Horizon 3 will have. But Forza Motorsport 7 is just a little bit dry for me visually.
You just rather have the open world race. So I'm the same. I'm very much looking for the Horizon patch, which is gonna hopefully be. I think I've heard it's going to be tomorrow at time of recording, actually, Rich. So that's the rumor. So I'll be looking forward to diving back into that again. But yeah, I think it's it's a driving game. Don't driving games always look good on new hardware? That's kind of like what you do, innit? Put out a driving game to show it off. Joel, any objections to cutting it?
I don't have Forza 7. I've not played it, so yeah, I can't really comment.
Okay, Richard, I've not played Uncharted. Joel, I don't think you've played Uncharted. Is it just as lovely as all the previous Uncharteds?
Maybe a little bit more so, because it's got the added oomph of open areas. It's not just a funneled experience this time. So it's more impressive than it's ever been before in my mind.
Okay. Does it hang in the top 3?
I think so. I mean, the sort of benchmark we're into now, when we move beyond the Switch, is does it make you want to buy a 4K telly? Uncharted did. Horizon Zero Dawn did. So
the interesting thing, both of those, right? I don't have a Pro, but Horizon still looks brilliant. Like it just looks stunning, and it's not so much the fidelity of that; it's how that world is streamed in and the technology behind the engine that they've created for that Guerrilla. The fact that it's so impressive that Kojima's gone with it for Death Stranding, and that we're going to probably see this showing up more and more in Sony first-party games and second-party games, because it's groundbreaking open world streaming tech. It's truly impressive, the amount of detail and fidelity in that open world at like all times. Unbelievable, just mind-blowing. Like that bit within the snow, and they've modeled the grass under the snow.
Yeah.
So you can see it when you roll or in your footprints. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. Like that's incredible. Joel, I imagine you would agree on that assessment of Horizon?
Well, to me, that is my number one. When
I thought it might be.
It's when I have friends come over and they want, I'm trying to demonstrate what 4K and HDR really are. That is the game I use. I don't use any game on the Scorpio, the X. I use Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4 Pro, because there are places you can go in the frozen wilds. If there's a part where you head quite high up into the mountains and you turn around and you can literally see the whole of the map, and it just looks with this volcano burning fire in the background, and it's almost photorealistic in places. It's just freaking insane. It's by far the best thing I've seen visually this year. Like, yeah, brilliant. I
think Ghost Recon is quite an achievement in it. The size of its open world, and while what you do in it gets boring, there is a lot of variety in the locations in Ghost Recon, from like salt plains to jungles to cities and all that kind of stuff, and it's all managed quite well in that engine. And then the X enhancements have really done, and the HDR more than anything. I think how night time in that game is truly dark, and that you really need to use things like your night vision to be able to like get around and stuff. I think that's handled really, really nicely with the lighting in that game. However, I don't think it's top 3.
No, I don't think it compares to some of the other titles for just the naturalistic splendor of something like Horizon, Ghost Recon just doesn't reach that.
I think quite close though to Horizon, and right up there is another Ubisoft title. I think ACO is a real achievement of a world. I don't know what tech they're using for that engine and stuff, but man, Egypt looks amazing in that game. The fact that the cities are as detailed as they are, and then you can ride out on your horse and be in deepest desert locations, you know, with watering holes, and it looks stunning at all times, and it looks amazing in 4K with HDR going and stuff. And you feel a real sense of place. And it's like beyond that, the world though, the character models are all really detailed. Everything looks stunning in that game. Underwater looks stunning. Then there's the whole aspect that you have to remember when you're doing a big world like this and you're dealing with like a character point of view, to then be able to throw that point of view out of the window and get the bird's eye view that you get from flying his eagle, while your character can still be riding, say, your horse through the environment to a waypoint. And you can then be flying around the eagle at the same time and then instantly jump back into Bayek and not see any technical problems or hitches, and everything still looks fantastic. It's incredibly impressive. And I think it's maybe just as impressive as Horizon for that. I think Horizon maybe stands out to people because of the fantastical elements, but ACO stands out to me because it feels historically accurate as well as looking beautiful.
It feels like it holds itself to more difficult standards with where it sets itself as well. I mean, I haven't played through so much of Horizon yet, but the feeling I have is that that's mostly quite a Spartan environment. There's some level of consistency with how much life you see within the world. I mean, none of it looks barren. There's plenty of foliage, and you know that you've got the robots knocking about, whatever. But it doesn't seem to compare to some of the busier parts of Assassin's Creed Origins when you go into a bustling city and you walk out of a doorway and there are just dozens of people milling around doing whatever. They're living there. It just feels alive.
Yeah. And the fact that, you know, you can go from an environment like that immediately to a different type of environment, you know, you ride your horse and you're, you know, and it all is seamless. You're right. I see what you mean about Horizon. There is one big city in Horizon, Meridian. But I don't think it ever feels as alive as it does in ACO.
There is a reason, obviously, for that. The story is a bit different.
Yeah, no. Absolutely, but we're not looking at it for that reason. You know, obviously, that's not the criticism. I mean, what you're talking about the animal side of things, then, right? So in Horizon, you've got groups of machines, and then you have kind of the lower level animals like the boars and things like that.
Yep.
In ACO, there's life everywhere, and it doesn't feel placed in the same way as the machines do. It feels very much like, you know, that here's some gazelles, you know, by the watering hole because they've been drawn by the water, and then there's a hippo, crocodiles now as well, and fucking elephants show up later on in the game, and it's just there's so much going on at all times, and it never seems to suffer for it. You should play it, Joel.
It's on my things to do. On the Horizon again, there is the narrative explains why there is so.
It's not a
you don't have to defend that. That's not what we're talking about here.
It's not a criticism at all. I'm just saying that, you know, Assassin's Creed probably makes it harder for itself with what it asks itself to do, but it delivers that.
And I think to also argue for Horizon again, furthermore, what we're talking about here is the PS4 Pro is actually considerably underpowered compared to the X. Yet what they managed to achieve is ultimately a better result in the end. So all it says to me is that when developers actually really start getting all the power out of the X, is that you could expect things that look better than Horizon, which is just a kind of mouth-watering proposition.
Yeah, Horizon and Guerrilla have made a game there. Again, it's kind of like the same thing with Destiny. It's incredibly good art direction. And then understanding the tech, and even though it's a checkerboarded 4K, it still looks, I imagine what you're saying, looks amazing. And like I said, I don't have a Pro, and just watching it in 1080p, it's still fantastic. I would say we haven't talked about Battlefront 2 yet. Battlefront 2 is stunning on the X, isn't it? I mean, like, character models, environments. It puts you in Star Wars. Like, I didn't think that would be even more possible than after what they did with Battlefront 1, but somehow it's even better than that. And it's just amazing. It's mind-blowing how cool that is. However, I guess what you need to ask yourself is, if it wasn't Star Wars, would you be as impressed?
I think so. Well, there's a couple of downsides to Battlefront. I mean, some of the hero character models, they look great overall, but they still look a little bit off. There's a bit of uncanny valley there going on. And the single player campaign, for some reason, that looks far less impressive than the multiplayer. Even though it's built using the same assets, it's essentially the same thing. I guess there's the expectation that there'd be more going on in a single player campaign, but there's not very much going on at all. But multiplayer wise, yeah, it's moment to moment one of the most beautiful games I've seen so far. I'm just not sure it would top Assassin's Creed, Horizon, and Zelda.
Let me make a top 3 suggestion then. ACO, HZD, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I think that would be my top.
The ordering then. Joel, do you agree with those 3?
The only difference I would put Battlefront in instead of Origins, but that is only because I haven't played Origins, so I've not seen it with my own eyes. So, but I have heard that it does look very pretty, so I'm not going to argue too hard for it. I think Battlefront 2 was visually amazing in some places, even in the single player campaign. I thought the world of Endor looked stunning, and the foliage and the detailing, and just stopping and looking at the detail, it's amazing how attentive they've been in places. But some of the space battle sequences as well are just fucking amazing to look at. Even though there are only ships flying around and just laser fire and explosions in places, just blowing up the corvettes looked impressive enough. The blockade runners stuff, and yeah.
I think what it is, and the reason it doesn't hang in with these other 3 is what these 3 take on and what they achieve with their art styles and their visuals and the technical prowess, and especially in Zelda's case, considering its underpowered hardware home, is more impressive than Battlefront 2, because Battlefront 2, even though those multiplayer maps are large, they are static for the most part. And by that I mean, you've got your enemy team and your team, and that's it. And I mean, there's some code, the net code and stuff is impressive, and the fidelity of the resolutions are very impressive as well, obviously. But for the most part, it's playing it safer, isn't it? I don't want to say it's easier to do.
I'm not disputing.
But I feel like they're taking on less.
No, I think there's a reason we've settled on 3 big open world games. It's because it's more technically difficult to pull off. So what they've achieved with these visuals is all the more impressive within that genre.
So an order. Who wants to suggest one first? Joel.
Okay, so Origins would be in 3rd place for me.
I thought it might.
Would be Breath of the Wild, and number 1 would be Horizon.
I agree with that list.
You'd really put Origins 2 places behind Horizon, Rich?
Yep.
Why?
Because the others look better.
Think of it this way, Ben.
So Horizon doesn't look better than Origins.
If Origins does well because it's probably on a platform where it's not utilizing all the power, it's not getting everything out of it. Not necessarily their fault, because the X is quite new, but I would argue that Zelda and Horizon are bleeding the platforms they run on dry.
Zelda's bleeding a platform dry, even though it was a launch game.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think it probably. I think there's just. They've probably tweaked and tweaked and tweaked the graphics settings, the draw distances, that sort of thing until literally they can maintain the playable frame rate they want without compromise. But
I think an argument would be that platform is the way that platform is because of Zelda. because they might have built that platform with that game in mind, considering how important it was to them and how it launched on.
They built it on the Wii U. The Switch is kind of a parallel of the Wii U anyway, so it's not like a brand new platform, is it?
And the technology in the Switch has existed for quite a while. Actually, it's the same stuff that's used in the Shield tablets and Shield TV things.
Yes,
so
amazingly good games considering it's such shit hardware it has. Yes, very very true. I feel like Origin should be higher, but I can definitely see your arguments. Okay, let's do it. Locking it in. Here we go. So, the best. Calm down. Calm down. The best visuals of 2017 go to Horizon Zero Dawn, followed by The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, followed by Assassin's Creed Origins. We're all happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel slightly bad for Uncharted, but you know.
Well, yeah, I know what you mean. Right, we're moving on to best music, in which I'm going to try something which could sound really bad for everyone. But we'll see how it goes. So best music, self-explanatory really, isn't it? Let's run down the list. Pyre, Destiny 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Aero, Butcher, Thumper, Nex Machina, Rhyme, Horizon Zero Dawn, What Remains of Edith Finch, The Mummy Demastered, Dream Daddy, and Persona 5. So what I'm going to try is play some of this music. I won't play music for everything, but I think if there's something somebody wants to argue for or something the other person doesn't know, maybe we'll try and play a track and have a listen. How does that sound, guys?
Yeah. Let's try it.
We want to see, Ben. Come on.
So is there anything you want to hear first? I mean, what's maybe a favourite?
Can we put on, one that stood out to me when I was listening to these yesterday was The Mummy Demastered.
It's fantastic.
It's incredible. I'd completely discounted this game because it's a 2D film license.
Yep.
Who's going to play that? Why would that be any good?
It's the best. I've listened to this album so many times. The Mummy
I was around in the 80s and 90s when every single video game film license was a piece of shit 2D platformer. And the production values in this they look astounding. So this is supposed to be based on last year's Mummy movie, which in itself was pretty bad. But with retro 2D visual aesthetic, amazing chiptune music, but high production values. It's not proper old school chiptunes. They've put some real quality production into it. And it's a Metroidvania game, right?
Yep.
And I don't reckon many people will have even bothered looking at this. So,
do you have any tracks in particular, or should I just play the first track and see what you think?
First one, just the first one was good.
Right, bear with me 2 seconds. Let's try this out.
It is kind of I can hear something.
So what did we? I mean, how was that? And what do you think?
So yeah, I think it loses quite a large amount of fidelity. It sounded better when I listened to it on YouTube earlier, obviously. But as far as the tunage went, it's really cool. It's quite does take you certainly back to kind of that 90s period of gaming, but still manages to feel quite modern at the same time. I think it's more like what you think music from the 90s gaming actually sounded like rather than what it actually did, if you know what I mean. Yeah. It's what you remember it.
I bloody love it. I've not played the game at all, but I really love that soundtrack. It's
It does make me want to buy the game. It's from Way Forward, who did the Shantae series, which again
and many other things
makes me think that's going to be good. That's going to be a banger. So
a banger.
I've put that on my wish list.
I'm gonna recommend what I think should probably be number one, and that's Aero, which I think has the coolest fucking soundtrack of the year by miles. What do you guys think of that? What I'm saying?
Bold, because it's all licensed music, like we've said earlier. But yeah, I'm not saying that discounts it. Just it might give something else the edge if there's a close run. But you're right, it's an amazing soundtrack.
Should we listen to a little bit?
Yeah.
It's funny that because when I hear it like that, it just sounds like gym music or music that you'd have on down the gym whilst you're trying to do a workout program or something. But when you have it with the game, with what the visual stuff that they're pulling off in the game alongside the control stuff, it kind of elevates it to another level, really.
Yes, no, that interactivity because the game is so a part of the music, and the music is such a part of the game. It's like, yeah, there is a synergy there in that experience. So the question is best music a category of best music that works when you're not playing the game? I don't think it is. Though there's an argument to be made there, but I think, you know, there are different ways of enjoying best music. Like, for example, last year Doom was the winner, and I think I beat you guys over the head with it until you let me have that. But I think, to be honest, the music, while very good in Doom, for example, works better in the game than it does listen to it separately. You know, so though it's still very good. But Joel, is there anything on from this list you'd like to draw attention to?
I'm looking down the list at the games on there for which I bought the soundtrack for Destiny 2, and to be fair, on the overall soundtrack, there's only about one or two tracks I actually like. The rest of it's kind of just average, so I would probably discount it on that.
Yeah, do you know what? Missing Marty O'Donnell, yeah, that's what it is.
There are a couple of nice sounding new tracks on that, but yeah, overall it was kind of, I preferred the Destiny 1 soundtrack.
Definitely.
Rhyme is another one I bought the soundtrack for. That's got some it's got some, generally it's quite good. It's quite nice, consistent music. It's got a couple of tracks on there that I really enjoy. And Horizon Zero Dawn's kind of similar. They've got that's a huge soundtrack. That's like 4 CDs worth of music. And that's got some really good tracks I like, as well as some others that's just more kind of ambient-y music.
I mean, so are you with Rhyme? Is that one you think that hangs, or is it one you'd like to discount?
I think Rhyme's music went very well with it during the game. I think, particularly the music that they were using during the sequences, because there's no real dialogue during the sequences. So all you've got is that visual, what they're showing you on the screen, backed up by the music to try and capture the emotion. And I think it works very well on that level with Rhyme. Did
you want to listen to some Rhyme now?
You can put some Rhyme on.
Or any recommendations from this?
I think the track's called. I'm just pulling it up on my phone because I can't.
Let's find it. We can move back. Because Richard, you were a big defender of Rhyme, weren't you? I mean, there was a lot of people that were quite naysayers about that game.
Yeah, I wonder how many people who knocked it actually finished it, because once you do finish it, that turns the whole thing on its head. It's an incredible game. Once you've played through the whole lot and you understand what's going on. Soundtrack wise, I'm not sure if the music lives beyond the game itself, and that's the test of a good soundtrack to me, is if you would really want to listen to it outside the confines of playing the game. And listening back to some of Rhyme's soundtrack, I'm not sure that I would want to. There's nothing wrong with it. I just think it serves the game being music in its own right.
Joel, do you have a track for me?
Touching the Stars, I think, is the one I'm thinking of.
Sexy. That's me. I'm always touching the stars here. Fucking hell.
Theme tune.
Fucking hell, there's a lot of tracks in this. Just trying to find it. There it is.
Track 14 on the album.
Right. Give me 2 seconds and we'll have a little bit of rhyme. Very pretty. Very, very pretty. I mean, reminiscent of a little bit of Hans Zimmer from Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, kind of Shire-ness from that track. Didn't dislike it.
I think Richard's right. I think when I listen to that track, I've kind of got imagery of the game in my head, and that track I think is used during several of the scenes when you're on the boat. Several of the cutscenes of the boat, kind of pushing forwards. So, I think that's so. Yeah, I think it works well within the context of the game. And if you really like the music, then you will probably listen to it outside of the game. But yeah, has it got broad appeal? Probably not.
One I got to mention is it's Pyre. I mean, it's Darren Korb, isn't it? Once again, just
Darren Korb is a genius.
Yeah, he just is amazing. Everything he does is genuinely some of the best video game stuff. He's up there with people like was it Disaster Artist? Disaster Piece, thank you, yes. And a couple of others that come to mind, but I can't remember their names. But yeah, just Bastion, such an important part of that game. Transistor, such an important part of the game, and Pyre is no different. It's difficult to pick one of the 39 tracks on this particular album to show it off, but I'll try and I'm just going to play the first one. We'll see what you think. How does that sound?
Yep.
But three shall be as one. Freedom in the flame. The end has just begun. Strength may break alone, but twisted make a break. Together on their own, the journey shall be.
What I really like about Pyre's soundtrack, which you often don't get from video game soundtracks, is, as you heard there, vocals.
Yeah.
Not afraid to write vocals for tracks in a video game soundtrack. And it works. And it's there's a thing in the soundtrack that would only really be relevant to you if you play the game, but every one of the opposing teams has their own theme tune that you play in the rights, and they're all completely different and reflect their characters and their personalities. So that it's so whenever you're like talking to them, their kind of tune is playing in the background. It's fucking brilliant, and it just really gives them it's another way of conveying character, intent, things like that. Behind those characters and stuff. It's really good. It's really, really good. Would I listen to it outside of the game? Possibly, because it is Darren Korb, and his stuff is always so good.
I think I would. I mean, I'm actually thinking about buying the soundtrack rather than buying the game. So
please buy the game, Richard. Please buy the game.
I'm sure I will. I will.
Oh, he's broken up again. I'm sure he will. I believe him. That's fine. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Isn't that kind of like a cheat?
Yeah, that's cheating.
Sorry. So
Star Wars, it's just John Williams music, isn't it, for the most part?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the bit you remember, in it, from Star Wars. I mean, am I cheating by putting that in here, or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Take it out.
Take it out. Burn it down. Richard's not agreeing with that. Doesn't like it. Breath of the Wild. I'm not going to be that. Not a fan.
No. There's a few repeating sort of motifs in Breath of the Wild that I find really annoying when you encounter some of the big enemies. I hate some of those stings that play. So it undoes some of the good work that the rest of the soundtrack conjures up, but I wouldn't rate that, really.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not. Funnily enough, they didn't really use any of the previous Zelda tunes at all, did they? They kind of came up with something completely new, and it's a bit of a shame that I think they could have achieved everything they wanted to achieve and managed to keep some of the older music about as well, I think.
Okay. I've got Butcher on here. Did you guys have a listen? I mean, I don't want to fight too hard on it. I like it, but I don't love it. I don't think it'll be a top 3.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was pretty good, but not enough to listen beyond one track, to be honest.
What I'm going to have to play now, considering what Richard did after hearing this, is the Nex Machina opening tune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just because if Richard bought this off of 8 bars, then it kind of has to be okay, yeah? I mean, yeah? Right, so let's play that. I kind of think that song's a bit ruined when the lyrics start coming, though. I kind of like the bass line and the synth more than the words in that song. It's got such a great intro, but then he starts singing and you're like, oh dear. But there is a massive amount of good music in that game. So much good music, and it is quite an important part of the game, isn't it? Because it gets you really hyped up, Richard, when you're playing, and it like drives the action, and yeah, it's really nicely done. That is one I would, and I have actually listened to a few times outside of playing it. So I think that should go on the short list. Any objections?
No, I'd be all right with that.
Horizon.
That's got to be on the list. The main theme for Horizon is superb.
Aloy's theme. There are 2 variants of it on the album. There's just the vocals, and then the vocals and the track version, and they're both stunning songs. Not only that, but there are other parts in the game. Well, I think in the context of the game, there are other bits that the music work, because it's sort of, you've got this kind of tribal, primitive-y style, but that's befitting of the world. But when you step back into the parts of previous civilization, it sort of switches to sort of modern sort of tempoed beats and stuff. It's pretty cool how the music works throughout the game and sort of shifts between sort of having a modern tone versus a more kind of befitting of the tribal state of the game, I would say. But yeah, loved it.
Sure, I can't see an Aloy's theme on this particular playlist, but you want to hear the main menu theme?
Hold on a second. It should be track Let me bring it. Yeah, it should be track 2.
Lessons of the Wild is what I've got on this playlist.
Oh Jesus! So I've got track 2, Aloy's theme, on the official album.
Yeah, I don't have the official album. I have YouTube.
I'll follow
Don't
the
worry.
link you're
Don't
looking
worry.
at.
Do you want to hear the main menu theme?
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same track. They use it on the main menu.
Haunting would be the word that I would use for that.
Very good. Makes me want to go play it.
It does. It's a good main menu. It's like, yeah, you want to get in there and explore.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know if it's not my kind of music as much. You know, it's not the kind. It's certainly, I don't think I'd see myself listening to it when I'm not playing.
I think I would. I think it's top 3. I'm sure Joel will back me up.
Oh yeah, because I do listen to it when I'm not playing. So
I'll shortlist it. Thumper.
Have fun playing this over your little speaker.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I might not even try. I'm not sure Thumper makes it, to be honest. I like it, but I wouldn't ever listen to it outside of the game.
No.
Like,
I don't
it's
think
just...
even the people who made it wouldn't expect anyone to do that. I don't
It's
think.
kind of not like, it's almost not music. It's more like rhythm cues. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not really music. It's such a part of how you play the game. When I've tried to listen to it for this, I was like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm fine. Don't need that.
Do you remember episode of Spaced when there's that bicycle courier and he starts like raving to the tea being poured and the alarm going off?
Yeah. She's
it's kind of
tripping
like
out to it.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. What remains of Edith Finch?
it's good.
Anybody want to add to this?
I like that kind of music. It's piano and violins, basically, which are always emotionally resonate with me, and they work really well with the game. It's just nice, pleasant, but sad music.
I don't think it had any sort of standout moments, though. It just provided a nice bed for the rest of the game.
But if you listen to the soundtrack, or you listen back to it, you're just like, oh yeah, this is really good, this is really nice. But then I think perhaps when you're playing it in the game, you're so overwhelmed by all the other sort of enjoyment of the gameplay and things that perhaps the soundtrack, although being good, still stands second fiddle to the rest of it. Maybe.
I just listened to a track then when you were talking, and it's like none of it's memorable.
Yeah,
it's nice, but it isn't distinct. Do you know? It's like you said, it's a nice background, a nice bed to what's going on, to the emotional resonance of the experience. Yeah, and it's certainly additive, but it works as a whole, but it doesn't work necessarily by itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think that's right. So, Dream Daddy.
No,
this was a joke, wasn't it? You just put in for a laugh. Because
what you don't like the Dream Daddy thing?
What?
What's wrong with you people? It's amazing. Listen how good this is. It's amazing. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's pretty good.
Oh, you guys, you're just all dead inside. You're dead inside.
It sounds
you wouldn't
like-
know good music if it slapped you in the face.
That sounds like it's like the intro to a really bad American program about people trying to find their dream daddy or something. It just sounds horrible.
Yeah, like my two dads after both the dads have died. It is pretty good, actually. It sounds a bit like Beck, thinking about it, which I like. But I don't know. Something about the lyrics makes me think, can I endorse this?
It's corny as all fuck, but it's totally... That track encapsulates the self-aware kind of comedy of the game perfectly. But yeah, it's garbage, but beautiful, self-aware garbage. And more than anything, I just wanted to share it with you guys. Share
Thank
it.
you, Ben.
That's okay. Perhaps the best element of the whole game of Persona 5 is its soundtrack. It's amazingly good. Did you guys have a listen?
I did. I listened for a couple of minutes and thought, what is Ben? What does he see in this? And then it kicked in with the funk, and I was like, fuck yes. This is it.
What track did you listen to?
Just the first one. Just play the first one. It takes a couple of minutes, and then it just gets so good.
Should we play some of the first track then? I might skip through it a little bit so we get to the hot beats. Okay. This one's a good one. This one's a really good one. I'm back.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so funky. Like the jazz, rock, pop, funkadelic, just love it. Love it. That's getting shortlist for me, straight up. Joel, you've got no words, Joel. I can tell.
It takes me back to the old you know, when Sega were dying and they kept bringing out amazing games that no one wanted to play. Burning Rangers, stuff like that. Takes me back to those days.
I don't know what that is.
Burning Rangers was amazing. Check out the soundtrack.
Do you know what? I will. If it's like that, I will. I will like that. Joel, no comment. Did you listen to it? Anything before?
Yeah, I you know, it's a bit hard because I sat down and listened to these soundtracks and things, and there was, yeah, I think to be honest, the real one that stood out for me that I hadn't listened to before was the Next Machina one, where quite literally, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, this reminds me of the Fury soundtrack. So, and what it perfectly conveys is the tempo of the game through the music. So as soon as I started watching a gameplay video, I was like, yep, I can, you know, I'd already derived that this was going to be a kind of frantic, fast game from the music. And yeah, it's decent music, but also perfectly befitting, I think, of what the game is.
Can I suggest a top three?
Yeah.
Number 1, Mummy. Number 2, Pyre. Number 3, Aero.
No, you cannot suggest that top three. Try again.
Just because your fucking little bum buddy Horizon isn't in there. Horizon to win everything. Fucking hell. It's not that good. It's all right. Jesus.
I think Pyre has to be.
I'm pretty sure Richard was going to just extol the virtues of Pyre there, but he's broken up.
He was about to say
again.
Pyre has to be cut. Most controversially, he was about to go on the record and say it.
I'm hoping he'll come back in a second to
there?
finish his thought. There
Yeah,
he's coming
there he
back
is.
now. There he
We're
is.
back now. Yeah, Pyre's got to be in the top 3.
The Mummy's soundtrack is incredibly good. I've literally gone through that album like start to finish 2 or 3 times in the last week. It is fucking fabulous. Out of all of these, I've listened to that the most.
All right. Well, would you drop Aero for it?
God damn it. I feel like Aero should be winning this category. Like, really. I mean, that's tricky. I just don't see Horizon. Horizon for its one track. For that one main menu track. The rest will be mostly, you know, I know the kind of music you get in open world games. It's all fucking filler to give you while you're walking around. It's not something you're going to want to listen to. Yes, that main theme is good. However, Dreams Daddies is better. But, you know, I'm just saying it doesn't deserve it just because of how much we love Horizon in every other way. It does not deserve it for the music. It should not be in the top 3.
Yeah, I think I might agree with you. I might agree with you because, yeah, thinking about it, I can't think of much.
That theme tree, the main theme, and the Aloy's theme with that haunting vocal is great, but that's all it is.
I think I agree. I think it works in the game, the audio, but yeah, it outside of the game, it's not. I listened to a couple of tracks from that album, but out of the 120 tracks there are only 2 that exist for me outside, if you know what I mean. So,
Joel, how much of the Mummy did you give a chance to?
I listened to it. I like the soundtrack. I've not played the game. I liked it.
None of us have played the game.
Yeah, have we not?
No.
I thought one of you must have played and reviewed it, and that's how. No. How did you even find out about it?
Because I heard about how good the soundtrack was, and I was like, "Well, it can't be that good." And I listened to it, and I was like, "Fuck me, this is amazing."
Yeah. No, I thought the Mummy. I like that as well. I'm not disputing it. The only problem I've got is like, yeah, how the fuck is this attached to a game that's a movie tie-in? I don't understand.
It's a weird thing from where
it's
a
no
very
right
strange thing. Yeah, it's very.
By that measure.
Yeah, it's very, very strange. So, all right. So, I'm okay. So, really, Persona, I don't think makes this. Horizon doesn't make this. That leaves 4. So, let me get rid of those off of the list.
So we've got Pyre, the Mummy, and
Aero and Nex Machina.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, there's a tricky cut here. Like, Aero, the main argument
when I said licensed music.
Yeah,
made,
so that's the main argument against Aero is that it's licensed music. However, it's not like they've just gone out and bought a few CDs or whatever on the cheap. It's curated, it's thought through, and then the game is designed around those music tracks.
Yeah,
you know, it's not just a crappy fucking piece of licensed music over the intro to a racing game, is it? Or like an EA track situation or something like that.
No, it's not.
It's a very integral part of the experience, which also works because it's licensed music as amazingly good to listen to by itself. Because there's some fantastic artists on that album.
What we're really talking about is the music for the game, and as such, I think we should be rewarding originality.
Yeah, but this is a team of 2 guys in England, right? Mad Fellows. Yeah. So what, you expected them to also be really good at producing their own music?
No. What I expect likely happened is that they probably heard the music and then built the game from that.
No, I would think I think the game's concept came first. I think the game's concept definitely came first.
Possibly.
But they're obviously guys that are very much in the music scene because they must have had connections to the artists in some way, to license these tracks at what I'm assuming isn't a exorbitant fee because it's such an indie small game, and they've just put out DLC with some more tracks in it.
Have they?
Yes, they have. Yeah. They sent me a code for it.
Shouldn't we be putting SingStar and other things on like that then?
If you back in the day, right? Back in the day, now I see what you're saying. I understand, but if you'd said to me, Rock Band 1, 2, 3, if we were looking at best music in those years, I would have agreed that they had the right to be on that list, because it's not just chucking tracks up, especially the music that's on the disc for those games. It's a curated list. There is a lot of thought goes into the music that goes, and that's that's 80 songs. Aero is what, 15 songs, something like that. So it's a very small, specific list. And then, unlike Rock Band, each level is incredibly specific to that track, and it's so integral to the experience. I don't think, for example, the music in Nex Machina is as good as or is important to the game as it is in Aero.
Well, obviously, because it's not a rhythm stealth game, rhythm game kind of thing, is it?
But actually, no. I'm not trying to just be flippant about it. But honestly, I really think Aero should be in this top 3.
I don't know. It doesn't. I'm kind of. I understand your argument, but I'm kind of thinking, well, yeah, if surely we would have put Rock Band or some other things in there.
But the difference being a Rock Band level, if you like, isn't designed around the game, around the music. Sorry, it's just a note track, whereas Aero is a lot more than just a note track, isn't it? Richard?
Yes, it's a bit more than just a note track, but it's not
a bit more.
A bit more. You don't get, for example, you follow the rhythm and you follow the line, and if you're slightly off the line, the sort of tone of the sound changes slightly. But it's not like you make a sound anywhere on the circle, so you're encouraged to. You've got some freedom to try and scratch and make your own kind of track to the beat. If you know what I mean?
Nope, that is not how the game works. You are playing the game completely wrong, but that's fine.
No. That's what I'm saying. It's not
right. No, because if you do that, you'll get no points. Yeah, don't do that.
I know. So in some senses, it is. You are just playing through a fixed track with gameplay. In some senses,
But it's not just strum on this color, is it?
It's not just a color coded sequence. The game is built around the music,
and not just the track, but the whole level, the look of the level, everything about it is bespoke. You know.
Even though I bought Nex Machina on the strength of its soundtrack, I am coming around to Aero topping it. I think Aero is that special.
Aero is such a fabulously cool experience. To come from such a tiny team, out of nowhere, just I'd shout its praises, and often do to people in person. The people I know who like that kind of music, I tell them, go and they're gamers. I check out fucking Aero. It connects you to that music in ways I've never experienced before. You know, and I'm a sucker for a rhythm action game.
We haven't got another music game on the list. I know that's not a requirement for a best music category, but in a year that's produced something as good as Aero in rhythm action, it needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. So I say cut Nex Machina.
Yeah, I agree.
Joel?
It's fine if we're including we're including non-original materials, then yes.
Look, if you've got if you've got other games.
No, I haven't. That's the key.
I'd be fair. You know, if you had excluded stuff because you didn't think it was valid, I would have been like, no, go for it. Like, you know, fucking. Did you really like EA's Madden game with all its amazing licensed tracks, for example? I don't know.
There's a big difference between something like Aero, which has selected the music that will work for its game, and like Battlefront, which we discounted immediately just because it's what comes with the license. You know?
Yeah, it's got pre-canned music. Battlefront. Yeah. If they don't take it, it's weird.
Do you know what could have been on this list? WWE 2K18, because it's got all the different wrestlers' intro music.
Yeah, but it's best music, Ben.
Hey, don't. Undertaker's is a classic. No, yeah. So we've got 3 now. How do we order them? I think it should be Mummy, Pyre, Aero.
Aero at number 3.
Maybe Mummy, Aero, Pyre. I really like the Mummy soundtrack. Like,
oh, you're saying Mummy first. So okay.
yeah, Richard's broken up again.
I'll go with that.
But yeah, Rich is back. What do you think, Rich? Nope, he's gone away.
Or actually, maybe, perhaps based on the the discussion we just had, not the argument. Perhaps then, isn't Aero possibly deserving of the top spot?
I think so, but I didn't think I'd convince you guys. Aero at number one.
It's basically that game doesn't exist without the music. There is a pure symbiotic relationship. Whereas the other games you could probably mute and still play them. Aero would make little sense.
So Aero, Mummy, Pyre,
Mummy.
Pyre, Mummy,
yeah.
Pyre, Mummy. Don't you think? I don't think Mummy's better than Pyre.
No one's actually played the Mummy, so it could actually be the greatest of gameplay experiences. So yes,
it's just good music. It's just good music. Okay, so right, that's the end of the penultimate category. For best music in 2017, we have chosen Aero, followed by Pyre, followed by the Mummy Demastered. That's a good year for music, and I think that's a really good list. So here we are, guys. The big one, the big kahuna, the final category, best game of 2017. Let me run down our list here. Obviously, if you guys, we just spent several hours talking about stuff, so if anything comes to mind as we go, throw it out there. But what we've got so far is Pyre, Mario and Rabbids, Assassin's Creed Origins, Super Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, Nier Automata, which I will delete now because you've not played it. Persona 5, What Remains of Edith Finch, Prey, Injustice 2, The Surge, Hellblade, Uncharted, The Lost Legacy, and the obvious winner, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Yeah? Anyone? Yeah, we won. That's cool. Glad we got to the end of that really quick. That was easy, guys. Thanks very much. No? Okay. Who wants to start?
To be had.
PUBG. I didn't put PUBG on my top 10 at all.
Yeah, you're mad. You are.
And that's because it's not a finished game yet. So
what?
I kind of figured
it's finished on the PC.
So
it's finished on PC. So it's finished enough for me.
I see where you're coming from. But yeah, for me, it's there. I can play it, and as far as gameplay goes, I can judge it based on. I think everything that it is going to be gameplay wise is there. Everything else to come to it is just going to be the kind of sprinkles and chopping and polish.
So I'd say for best game we do top 5 instead of top 3. And I don't know. We did top 5, same thing last year as well. Do you want to start cutting? Do you want to do a round of cuts and see what we come up with?
So right, I'm just going to say, oh no, you two have both played Injustice 2 and The Surge, so they would be my candidates for cutting. Tell me why they're not in your. Tell me why they're in your top 5.
They're not.
Oh, there you go. So
I'm looking. I'm seeing if they are for me. They're both. I don't think The Surge. No, I think The Surge doesn't make that, but I think Injustice 2 is from a year with some very good fighting games. I think it is hands down possibly the best fighting game this generation. It mixes super accessible sort of attitudes with an incredibly complex, once you start digging into it, fighting system. It is beautiful to look at. It plays really well. It sounds really good. It's actually got a really good story mode. NetherRealm are absolutely killing it with their single player stuff nowadays. A really fun comic book story that takes you some really interesting places, that gives you some really interesting characters to play as. I mean, it's basically a prolonged tutorial, but it's much better than it needs to be, and I think that's really cool. I don't know if it's top 5.
Fighting game of the year is Injustice 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's not in our top 5. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No, that's fair enough. That's legit. Richard, go on.
We still cutting?
Yeah, well, if you want. I mean, we've got to get this down somehow. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on this list, though, isn't there? Wow.
Ooh, I think we're going to have to take Mario and Rabbids out, aren't we? Novelty value aside.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't make my top 5. Yeah, so I agree with that.
XCOM just does it better, doesn't it? I'll cut from my own heart here with Pyre, just because you guys haven't played it. You don't get it until you play it. That game. It's such a crazy mixture of visual novel and competitive sport. The two genres you never thought would come together, and yet those fucking insane people at Supergiant somehow make that compelling, beautiful, fun to play in both of the sort of disparate aspects. It takes a little bit of getting into, like a couple of hours for you to really start to gel with it. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of like written text. The one element I miss is that there's not as much narration, but there is this kind of narration element to the sport. You have this like super sarcastic, dark, sort of darkly comedic, godlike character commenting over you as you do the rights, which are the sport element. It is bonkers, but it is like the most original thing I have seen in a long time. Just wish you played it. Many of the things I just said then I could also apply to Nier Automata, Automata. So yeah, Celavi. Next time,
Ghost Recon can go. I think it's too repetitive and not polished enough to make the top 5.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, we're getting down to it now. Okay.
Wolfenstein.
No.
Doesn't
Seriously,
make my top 5.
No fucking way, man. That's a shoe-in for a top 5 game, easily.
No, not for me. Not for me. It was held elevated above where it should be by its.
It's like 3 on my list
by its strong characters, but yeah, the game underlying it was somewhat average as a shooter.
It's number 3 on my list. You are not having that out of here yet.
It is hamstrung by the gunplay. It's not great. Shooters.
Yeah, but all right. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not. The problem is it's not Doom. It's better than Call of fucking Duty. I can tell you that much. It's better than Battlefield for gunplay, but it's not. It's not Doom.
None of those games are on this list, so we have
but I'm just saying. The problem is its sister game does it better, which makes it look in a bad light. However, it is trying to do things differently. It has a strong kind of stealth element to it, which maybe works against it a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. But man, it's still so much fun, so much cathartic fun. In the year of our Lord 2017, nothing feels better than murdering fucking Nazis. I mean, it's just like, this is what we should be doing in the streets right now, and it feels good to be doing it in a fake 1960s America.
Okay, well, let's put a pin in that.
I'm putting a pin in. I don't want to cut it. I don't want to cut. See, I'll just turn around on Joel then and go cut Prey, because I think that game is good, but it's quite boring. And while the last 2 minutes,
it makes you gay.
Well, the last 2 minutes may be revelatory. The rest of it aren't that great. No, it's very dry.
I think it's a very creative, immersive sim. I thought that the setting is pretty decent. The first minute you step outside the space station and you suddenly realize how believable the location itself feels. Then
great moment.
And then you start floating around the space station, you see all the airlocks, and you quickly realize, well, actually, yeah, shit, and this bit is at the top of the base, and this bit's, and you're like looking at the environment, it's really believable. Other bits that go around it, just the crafting mechanisms, sort of, there is those recycler charges are freaking brilliant. There were times where I was sort of in a room picking up all the crap, like medical beds, desks and computers, and just piling everything in a corner, then throwing a recycler charge at it just to get more material so I could make ammo and things. And the enemies, the mimics, and also the ability to unlock the mimic skills, so you could become a coffee cup and stealthily try and roll steadily down the corridor whilst everything's looking at you, and then you sort of roll forwards, and then suddenly all the enemies turn around and stare at you, and so you just stop as this coffee cup and then wait for them to turn back, and then you roll forwards, and it's like proper comedy stuff. You're like, this is it. It was a lot better than Dishonored. I feel it offered a lot more creative freedom to the player than the Dishonored titles did.
It sounds like I played it wrong.
It is inventive.
I played it through with an upgraded shotgun, just shooting everything like a shooter.
You played it so wrong. Yeah. There's proper invention in that game. The glue gun stuff as well is really clever. how the glue gun can be used to slow down enemies and sort of build platforms to get to different places. There's good inventive thoughts in that game, which you think it should all be done by now, shouldn't it? First-person shooters, all the ideas should have been had, but that's got at least 2 or 3 that no one's done before.
So it has got some poor elements, I think. Beyond the mimics, which I don't think they utilize enough, I think some of the other enemy design gets kind of boring. Yeah. The phantoms and that big nightmare-y thing's a bit silly, actually, overall. Because the first time you see it, you're like, oh my God, I've got to hide, I've got to panic and stuff. But then it doesn't actually really do much. It tends to be stuck in the largest open areas, and it's pretty easy to kill, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right about the inventive play. Like I spent a large amount of time just carrying turrets around, repairing them and using them, so I didn't have to consume ammo. And then later on in the game, when you get the different type of operators that have laser guns, so you can morph into one of those and float around and just use the laser gun to start melting stuff. And every time you come up to a situation, there are always multiple ways you can approach it. Like when you come in, it's like, well, you need to have like level 3 strength to move this object out the way. You're right. Sometimes you can use the glue gun to create a bridge up, a pathway up the wall and get him through an air vent or some piping. Or you can use a recycler charge to move to consume the level 3 item, so you can just get through that way. It afforded a lot of freedom that felt BioShock or Dishonored wanted to do, but never managed to quite get to the same level of.
Yeah, it feels a lot more. The gameplay is a lot more emergent than similar things that have tried it before. Like Deus Ex, there'll be different ways of doing a situation, won't there? There'll be full-on attacks. There'll be a stealth option, and there'll be ways of hacking a computer or something, right? But it's always very binary. Either you've got the skill or you haven't. If you want to do stealth, right, there's the great, crack on and climb in that. And it all feels like it's been laid out for you, but Prey isn't like that. It feels like you're discovering the options rather than just...
you've made some good arguments there, guys. Richard, I ask you a question. A or B?
B.
So, Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Really? Top 5?
I'm not sure. Probably not.
Just more Uncharted. See, now the problem is I had with Uncharted 4. Do you remember last year when I was like, I hadn't played it, and then I actually played it in time for Game of the Year, and it got on my list because I didn't play it because it was just more fucking Uncharted. But it turns out it was fucking awesome. So I suspect this will be exactly the same thing with The Lost Legacy when I get around to playing it.
Yeah,
I put it off and put it off because it's Uncharted, but it's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah,
is it top 5? I mean, that's the thing.
That's the problem. I think because it's a known quantity, I kind of want to leave that until we've explored all of the others more first. It might be in the top 5, depending on how we go with the rest.
Okay, I won't do anything with it then until now. So then in that case, I throw back to A, which is Hellblade. And that's
to me, it's a no-brainer, but I know you guys...
game, Richard. It's not a good game.
It is a good game.
It's not a good game. Joel might even agree with me on this one. That thus far,
I'm taking the middle ground again in the sense that,
for God's sake,
its failing so far for me as a game have been that it's failed to engage me through gameplay alone. But
sorry, the failing of a game is that the game isn't very good. That's what you just said. So.
No, the subject of it. The topics the game is covering and things, that's what's making me want to go back and continue and persevere with it. And I will through gritted teeth. I
love that. I will through.
No, but the thing is, I know myself. I feel the promise of that game is going to really, it's going to pull a lot more. I think I'm just touching on the surface of what they're trying to convey with the psychosis and things like that.
You played 3 hours of an 8-hour game. Joel.
Well, I know some other aspects of the game because listening to other people talk about it. So, for instance, and this is a bit of a spoiler. I'm not sure if you'll care, Ben. I think Richard already know the answer, but it reveals at the start that you only have a limited number of deaths. As soon as you die too many times, you will have to restart the game. But that actually is just a lie. It's not true at all.
It's bullshit.
They tell you it, but it's not real. You can die as many times as you want, but the way that's delivered in the game. Instantly you're just like the first thoughts you have when you hear that, I was like, oh, fucking not a game like this, like shit. And it makes you truly nervous and scary, and it does it successfully conveys those emotions and things. Is it going to make my top 5? It won't at the moment. Probably the sad thing is that I haven't completed it this year, and I might have a different perspective if I had. But yeah,
Richard,
I think there's more to that game.
Considering where me and Joel are on that,
I'm going to be realistic. I know that's not going to make it, but I'm sad because it really was a standout moment.
All I can say, Rich, is I tried. I really did. I really wanted to like it because I've heard so many good things about it.
If you do go back to it, just try and finish the rest in as few sittings as possible, because you really need to get immersed.
Well, I think, like I said at the beginning, I think of the first episode, there are so many games here that we haven't all finished or we haven't even played at all this year, that next year we'll 100% have a category of best game of 2017 in 2018. Because there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we're going to want to talk about. This year was filled with fucking amazing games, like top to bottom. Like, we've had an amazing year of games. Right. All right, let's have another look at this then. Where should we go now? Oh yeah, let's cut Horizon. Nobody liked that, did they? No, I'll just delete that now. Persona 5 isn't getting in the top 5, is it? There's no way. You've not played it. And it isn't as good. The combat in Persona 5 is the best it's ever been in a Persona game. However, the characters in Persona 5 are not as good as they were in Persona 4. It made my personal top 10 list. No, it didn't make my personal top 10 list. No, it did. Number 9. There it is. Sorry, I'm doing really well. I'm trying to check things while I'm talking. It's not always easy. It made it just because I have a fondness for this particular franchise, and because it's pretty much the only JRPG I really enjoyed other Persona games. It's almost like tonally it's too dark for me. I prefer a bit more levity in this. Persona 4 balanced it perfectly, and this just doesn't quite get there. I want to put more time into it. I haven't finished it. I'm going to keep playing it, but it's not in the top 5, so I'm going to cut that. Now that we're down to... Right, well, I'll recap what we've got here. We've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. So Assassin's Creed Origins, Super Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, What Remains of Edith Finch, Prey, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. I'm going to tell you some games I think should be in the top 5. All right, how about we do that? I'm going to do that. What Remains of Edith Finch, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Horizon, Zelda, I'm just trying to decide between 2 right now, and it's really difficult.
3 of those are in my top 5.
Well, I only said 4, so I guess it was PUBG. You wouldn't agree with?
Sorry. Well, just what's left on the list. 3 of them are still in my top 5 there.
Your actual top 5 of your list?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm just talking like personal. I'm ignoring my own list really at this point, and I'm just trying to whittle these best games down. This is so hard, man. God, there's so many good games. These should all be Uncharted. I come back to Uncharted. I don't think Uncharted hangs, just because me and Joel haven't played it, and it seems to be another Uncharted game in the Uncharted vein. And while we know that's excellent, what is it bringing? What new is it bringing to the table?
Yeah,
really,
more open world stuff, but yeah, it's going up against Assassin's Creed. So
yeah, exactly. Anybody got any thoughts? Jump in. I'm just sort of talking out loud right now, talking through my thoughts.
Candidates, the next 2 games that I would cull in no specific order would be between the New Colossus and Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed I haven't played, so that's why that is. New Colossus I have played, and I don't think it's better. I thought so. Was better, and every other game on that list is better than Wolfenstein.
I was gonna say, I can go with cutting Wolfenstein, even though it's number 3 on my top 10 personal list, just because I think that was a very specific reason I enjoyed it so much. Because because I hate Nazis. Obviously, Joel is a big Nazi supporter, so that's fine. It's good to know where his politics are now.
Nazi links.
I think I agree with Joel. Wolfenstein and Assassin's Creed.
No, I'm not. There's no way I'm cutting ACO from this top 5, man. No fucking way.
That game is amazing. Same reasons. It's there are ways in which it's not amazing.
Oh, see, he was going to say not amazing, but then he changed his mind as he got cut off, Joel, and it's actually going to be. Honestly, I love it.
Let's do the comparison. So there are two games that are very similar in that they're proper open world. So Legend of Zelda is already way off in the lead with regards to open world. We've got 3 open world titles there: Assassin's Creed, Horizon, and Zelda. And if I order those, even without playing Origins, I still think Horizon's going to be the better open world title.
It's just not. ACO is a better open world to Horizon.
The combat sucks balls, though.
You don't like the new combat in ACO?
No, it's not very good.
I think the combat's a lot. You want to talk about combat problems? Fuck me, Horizon's combat's garbage.
Oh no way! That was my almost favorite part of the game.
All that stupid bullshit with the traps and the fucking ropes and the. I don't do any of that. That's boring as fuck.
Well, you didn't have to.
I just want a shotgun.
Give me the big gun that kills everything with one hit. That's how Ben plays games.
Did you guys ever have to engage the Thunder Jaw? I think it's called the T-Rex.
No, not got that far.
Jesus Christ, that's just like another level of. I went in a cauldron in Horizon, so the cauldron was like level 22, and I was like, yeah, I'm level 28. I'll just cruise on down there. I got to the end, and it's freaking this, to shut the cauldron down. You go through it, you solve a few, environmental puzzles, and then you get to the boss at the end, and it's a bloody Thunder Jaw thing. And frick me, that was like an hour and 15-minute long sweat fest battle between me and this, because I got in there so minimally equipped. I wasn't really prepared to do it, so I only had a few traps, and all I had was arrows really. And it's just me slowly rolling, chiseling away like the various systems off this T-Rex, getting rid of its disc launchers and stuff. And yeah, it was tense. It was amazing. It was so, when I beat it, it was just such a surreal, great feeling. And that's the same for a lot of the first times you encountered the machines in that. Each machine is kind of, some of them are somewhat generic, like the kind of bulls and the more kind of farm animal ones. But the sort of the crocodiles, the first time you encounter them, they are like you use your focus to scan them. You're looking for the weak points. You're trying to see, and then each animal's weak points is susceptible to sort of some will get more damaged by fire, but some are ice, and so you have to use different arrow types and stuff on.
Oh, elemental damage! How creative!
No, it's just the fact you did on different components of the animal, not different animals entirely. You didn't just come along something that was just weak to fire. It was only certain bits of it might be weak to fire, but other bits would be more susceptible to tear arrows, and so it was. I loved it. I found the combat. It took the kind of fun combat from Tomb Raider and just made built on that into something even better. I think the combat in Horizon was almost one of its best bits.
Richard, you got cut off. What don't you like about the ACO combat?
It doesn't flow. It feels haphazard.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you prefer old Assassin's Creed combat, which was just hammer X?
No, I thought that was garbage as well.
Yeah, this is much better than that. I mean, there's a counter system, a parry system. You have to use shield and defensive maneuvers and rolls. And
it has more systems, but those systems don't work. It's not anywhere near as polished as something like Horizon that has all of those options, and they feel well produced. It just feels too.
I refuse as editor-in-chief of this site to let you fuckers get away with everything, though, because I know where you're going with this. You want all your fucking Nintendo games at the top. PUBG won't even come near it. Prey will go above it. What Remains of Edith Finch is going to get cut. It's not fucking happening. So if you're going to make me cut ACO, you're cutting Mario or Zelda. You decide which.
No, we're not doing that.
On ACO.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Finch is in my top 5.
Mario don't make the top 5 of this list.
Shut up.
Hold on. This is fucking negotiation.
No, it's not. It's a dictatorship, brother. You're right. It's not a negotiation.
Final point on Assassin's Creed. Why has a game called Assassin's Creed got combat in
it? Fair point.
All right. We're cutting. Look, I'm acknowledging that I really liked Horizon, right? I really fucking like Horizon. I think it's an awesome game. So I'm willing to drop ACO from the top 5, and I think you brought up some very valid points, and I agree. I'm just looking at this list, and I can see both of you with your Nintendo fanboyism, and I just Mario is just another 3D Mario. It's great, it's charming, it's beautiful, it's fun, and I've been enjoying it greatly, even though I don't have that nostalgia connection. It made my number 10 spot on the list, which is really high for a Mario game in my world, right? But it's not a top 5 game when you're looking at what else is here.
It is.
That and Prey gets cut.
To be honest, the next game
that would be 4, wouldn't it? So
the next game to get cut from that list is either going to be Horizon or Prey. I think
out of the 2, it's got to be Prey, isn't it?
It's hard to say. It's one of the. To be honest, the next 2 games that get cut will probably. We only need to get to cut 1 to get to the top 5, and then the other one's going to be in 5th place. And I couldn't really decide between them. They were both excellent experiences.
I'm sorry, I'd cut Mario over Prey. Based off your passion for it, Joel, and your argument for Prey. And everything you said was spot on.
I haven't even started my argument for Mario yet.
Yeah, but
that's insane.
But Mario is just another. It's a very good Nintendo 3D platformer. What exactly is it doing that is new or furthers the genre or try something different? Nothing.
How much have you played of it?
Yeah. About 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. You are no judge of Mario Odyssey.
Oh, because you're going to give me an arbitrary amount, and I have to play 8 hours before I get it, do I?
6.
Or I'll know. It's like the TV show argument, isn't it? You have to watch 5. You have to get 2 seasons in before it gets good. No, suck my dick. If I don't like it after 3 episodes, I'm out. It's like that's the way it works.
Mario's the opposite type of game. You only need to play it for 10 minutes, and it's good.
I love it. It's my number 10. It's a great game, but it's not in the top 5 games for Bxb Games. It's just not.
It was my number 1, and it's
my number 2.
It's game design genius. It's so clever in the way that it doesn't explain to you how to do something. It's just the way things are laid out and set up means that you know what you're supposed to do with it. And even if you don't, you'll look at it with a slight air of curiosity for 10 seconds before you try something, and it just works. It's almost like the first thing you ever try is exactly what. And it's clever like that in every world. It's compact, it's dense, there's just so much going on. It's just so easy to pick up and within 5 minutes get like 10 or so moons. It's
I don't think it
challenge
is
reward cycles just fantastically short. It was
I disagree. I think you both played lots of Mario games. So you understand the language much better than I did. And maybe I'm sure as a Nintendo console I'm in the minority of not being a Mario fan. But at the same time, the onboarding ain't that great for a person that doesn't understand Mario immediately. It's fine, don't get me wrong, but there was stuff that confused me that I didn't understand. There was loads of it. There's about 1 trillion moves you can do as Mario as well, and I found that really confusing and off-putting. Like, push this button and then that button and then move this way with the D-pad and you'll do this thing. Fuck off, I just want to jump on things. And occasionally possess things. Like that's what I want from Mario.
You can do that though.
Yeah.
If you just want to jump on
I looked
things,
at the options. I was like, oh, then you've got to do the waggle shit if you want to do this move and things like that. And I was like, fuck off. Just let me play in handheld mode.
I'll give you that. I didn't enjoy the use of motion controls.
No, the waggle stuff is bullshit. Yeah. But there is always a way around it. It just doesn't tell you what it is.
Right.
Controls.
It's not confusing for a person who doesn't know Mario like me.
No, I agree. I think if I was going to criticize Mario Odyssey, that is the thing that I'd criticize. The control system is not well explained to the layman. Fair point.
Right, well, we're nearly at 5. So one of you, Joel's saying he thinks Prey or HCD would get cut to create the 5. Oh, that's brutal. I mean, you made such a good argument for both of them, Joel. I mean, we're
down to the last 6 games of the year. If someone can only afford 6 games this year, and you
only got to buy 3 platforms.
And you've got a 4K TV and all the hardware that goes with it.
Yeah, yeah. You have to own all the consoles and PCs.
But that's essentially what it, you know.
I mean, I am looking at this, and I can see your arguments for Mario. And look, I've heard them all over the internet. I get it, but it's just not. There are different types of gamers. I'm not necessarily that type of gamer, though. I am trying to broaden my horizons and stuff. But is that how you guys are feeling? What, either Horizon or Prey to go?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I get that you're not a Mario person, but from someone who is, it's the best Mario game ever, isn't it? It just keeps giving. It's like we haven't talked about Zelda yet, but I'm 200 odd hours deep in that and still playing it. Mario has been dozens and dozens of hours, and I'm nowhere near getting all of the moons on it. It just keeps giving me content. And all of its quality, polished content. It's just impossibly well done.
Prey.
I was actually going to say I think Horizon, and
I think Prey. Horizon.
I think Prey is better over Horizon. I think Horizon, for all its success, still has that icon map-filled open world stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's nice in the sense that you can just get on with the main quests, and there is no need to deviate. You can just plow through the story. I think that's a strength of the game, but at the end, underneath it is a cookie cutter open world.
Prey makes the missions a bit more interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even if it's just looking for bodies or something, you know, there's a tracker for every person that lives on that space station, and you can find every single one of them, and it'll feel so personal because you know who it is and you know their backstory.
Oh, I'm shocked. Shocked that's where you're going with it.
Yeah. So Horizon, good strong narrative, fantastic visuals, really good combat, but then it's just the same open world stuff that you get from other games, other general open world games.
Can I suggest a top 5 in order?
Go on,
It's wrong.
I'm gonna go 5 up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna write him down as I say him as well, so you can see him. So Prey 5.
I agree with that one.
Yeah.
4 Mario.
No, no way. There's no
3,
way that Finch is better than Mario. Go on.
Yeah, it fucking is better than Mario. It really fucking is. It'd be my 1 or 2, but I know I'm not getting that one away. 3 Finch. 2 PUBG. Zelda at number 1. Now when I'm doing this isn't necessarily exactly how I'm thinking, but I'm trying to make some compromises here for you guys as well, and trying to think about the way the vibe is going. I know I'm not going to get PUBG at my number 1, right? Even though I would desperately believe it is a number 1. Finch, it would be like my top 10, yeah. PUBG and then Finch and then Zelda. But this is compromise. What, give me your thoughts.
Okay. 5 and 1, I'm with you. So Prey at 5, Zelda at 1.
We can lock Prey in at 5. That's a pure agreement on all of us. Don't think there's any disputing that. So that's done. Now you're asking me to choose between my favorite child, basically.
Yeah. That's what we're down to now. Yeah, the one that doesn't get 1 dies. Think of it that way. You're gonna have to kill your kids, Joel. It's not nice, but it has to be done.
Jesus, this took a turn.
Not your real kids, because it turns out they like watching me on YouTube, so that's all good. So don't worry until they're sick. Anyway, that's the effect I have on everybody. Goes down really well and then vomit.
So let's talk about Finch a bit.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Lewis Finch's story was an absolute revelation when I went through that. What it was trying to convey about a mundane job of working on a production line, just doing one thing, with and then how he created this, he's just cutting fish heads off and then he's created this fantasy world. But the way they communicate that by I remember just using the mouse in one hand to grab the fish, move them across, and cut them, whilst playing a completely different game using the cursor keys inside this fantasy world he was living, and just how how ubiquitous it kind of all came together. It was just, I was sitting there doing this, and this is what real people go through in their real life. This is what they want. This is why people like games. They want to escape into these fantasies. They want to be these different characters.
I think it dealt with
reality. I think it's shit for them.
I think it dealt with mental health issues better than fucking Hellblade did.
Yeah, and well, it was just an incredibly powerful moment. How simple it was to be doing a job.
McDonald's section of Hellblade.
Do you get what I'm saying? So that was a very powerful.
So the two games, for completely different reasons, they gave me the biggest emotional response this year were What Remains of Edith Finch and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Right? I have never been so sad and devastated as I have at the end of What Remains of Edith Finch, and I have never been or felt so elated as I did after getting 3 chicken dinners on the first day of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Like two of the most different but greatest gaming moments I've ever experienced, and definitely experienced in 2017. Edith Finch is an impeccably structured and written and polished, not necessarily technically, but polished with the writing and the structure of that game. It is so wonderfully done. And it achieves so much in its short running time. It is just... Yeah, it's like a 5 out of 5 movie. It's like that kind of experience. It absolutely transcend. It's a game that can only exist, a story that can only exist as a video game, as we talked about before, and it's just a special experience. And it shows off the power of the medium, and in exactly the same way as Battlegrounds does, an experience that can only work as a video game that transports you and. So I got a chicken dinner with each of you guys. I think I got 2 with you, Richard, didn't I, in that day, right? And we shared that moment, and that was a moment that sharing those kinds of experiences with your friends online is very special, and it will, that day will always be with me. Like, I'll always remember that. And I know it sounds silly, and you're kind of smirking a little bit as I say this. I understand that, but it was truly awesome. It was truly awesome, especially as I was somebody who'd been looking forward to playing that game for the best part of a year, waiting for it to come to console, and then for it to be as much fun as it was, in spite of all of its technical problems, which have already been considerably ironed out at this point. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. And I don't think I have that kind of experience from a single player game, which is why why What Remains or Zelda weren't my number ones. That's why, I am a hugely narrative focused gamer. I am all about the story in games. But what Battlegrounds did was it created stories that were just unique to us in those moments and in those games.
I've never used game DVR so much as I have with Battlegrounds. Yes,
constantly grabbing screenshots and videos. Constantly.
Yeah, I'm creating content that I almost want to share with you guys because, and it's not always good things. It's mostly me being really rubbish, but I'm so terrible. It's funny, sort of stuff. But yeah, it's a special game. There are special moments in it. You play these short rounds and you've only got 30 minutes, 20 minutes to bond as kind of a team, and you're trying to survive it. It's brilliant. But God, it's like hard. It's like comparing a fucking pineapple to a banana, isn't it? This is
well, no, it's more like comparing a pineapple to a pot pie.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's like you got some very, very disparate experiences on this top 5 list. Yeah,
they're both great, and they both work in different ways. That's the thing, that are completely mutually exclusive.
I think it's interesting that the language I'm using to describe this thing is that we've got to a point with games now where they can affect us so deeply and emotionally. And those are the kinds of experiences that I now want from games. While I look at Mario and I go, that is an incredibly well polished and formed platformer. The best emotion you're getting from me there is a bit of joy. Don't get me wrong, that's an important emotion to have, but it's not necessarily a complex one. There's a joy to be taken from pulling off a simple task well, and that's what Mario helps you achieve. But it's not. I don't feel like it's particularly special, and I don't feel like it's particularly new.
there are joyous moments in that game.
Yeah,
so I
well,
kind of get what
the
you mean.
Switch as a console has brought me more gaming joy, you know, than any other, like this year, except Battlegrounds. So, nobody else has said any other suggestions about numbers on this list. I feel like we've got a good number order here.
Okay, so we're putting Prey at 5. Are we saying Mario at 4 then?
Mm-hmm.
I can kind of see the logic at that. It hurts.
Like, you know,
but I get it.
bear in mind what I just said about Finch and PUBG and how much they move me and how I didn't put them at number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, they would be my 100%, like my joint number 1s for different and yet exactly the same reason.
So are we agreed on Mario at 4?
I am. I suggested it.
To be honest, I wouldn't. Any one of those games could be argued to be number one or number 4. That's the problem we've got.
Yeah,
is that this just depending on almost how you're feeling.
That's what it's all about. It's all about what you're feeling, and I've explained to you my feelings. So let's talk about the de facto number 1. Yeah. Let's talk about the de facto number 1, Zelda. What that did for me, I've never felt the desire to explore an open world as strongly as I have with Zelda. There is a way that game is designed based around its impeccable physics system that makes you want to see the next thing, always be pushing forward, always go over the next mountain, always into the next village or the next cave or the next shrine, just not to collect something, not to upgrade something, not to do any of that, but just to see what's there. And you just don't get that normally from open world games.
And not just to look at it either, but to play with it and see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Like you'll see some boulders on a ledge and you'll think, what happens if I push them off? Or what if I use my magnet power and lift that ball up and put it in a tree trunk? What happens then? And there's all these things that you think, I'll try that. And they've thought of it. Something does happen. You know, around every corner, there is something to do. And, you know, besides that, even if you do just want to walk around and look, it's gorgeous to look at. It's such a good place to explore.
I do have a slight problem with the retarded horses in that game, though.
I don't use the horses.
Yeah, I'm now not going to, because they are proper special needs, all of them. They all just they'll all go into a pit they can't get out of. That's what keeps happening to me. My horse will like jog off into like a hole, and then I'll call it, and it goes, "Oh, yeah, the horse can't get to you now." Oh, good. I guess what do I do with the horse? I have to get a new one. Brilliant.
I've never had that. But the way the game's designed for you to explore, you can't really climb mountains on horses. So
true.
You use them.
True.
I think when I think of Zelda, there is the one other nearest thing. I think the other kind of open world game that comes closest to Zelda is, I would say, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Kind of. They're games on the PC where, very much like you described, Ben, where I do just want to see what's around the corner. And you just happen to pick up quests on the way. There is a main storyline that tries to lead you along, but once you get set free in that world, you sort of want to wander around. But what Zelda does is somehow make it even more open, and simplifies it as well. It literally just gives you all your skills up front. You've got the plateau, which is a nice sort of tutorial sandbox, and then it sets you free. And every shrine you go in, you know, they're designed around the intent that you do it using, you know, in a certain way, but they're not limited to just doing it that way. They offer a lot of creative freedom in how you go about solving some of these puzzles and stuff. And I love watching the videos of just what people do with, particularly the stasis thing. They'd like hammer rocks and then stand on them to fly across half the map and things. And it's brilliant what people are coming up with. Some of the solutions they come up to the shrines using, you're supposed to use the stasis thing to or the magnesis to get the ball to come all the way down to the end. But actually, you can just use the water thing to launch the ball off and try and shoot it like at the goal basically instead. It's incredibly clever. The cooking as well is like a really fun kind of crafting mechanic in the game, isn't it? It's not overbearing. It doesn't feel like you tend to just throw loads of stuff together, and you'll always get something that's useful. But as you start to think about recipes that would probably work, you start getting better things, and I like it. I think Zelda was, and particularly considering where it came from as well. It's so different to whatever it's different, but it seems to have preserved the essence of the game from before as well.
Do you know what makes it different to Elder Scrolls is that in Elder Scrolls, up till now, who knows, the next one might be different, but up till now, the way that they're presented visually is far less inviting than the way Zelda is presented. While there are enemies kind of all over the shop in Zelda, you can quite easily avoid them if you want to, or run away from them or whatever, and get out of conflict. Whereas in Skyrim and stuff, I felt like the world is a much more hostile place. And Zelda, of course, Calamity Ganon's happened and there are enemies all over the place and stuff, but there's just something so pastoral and just so calming and relaxing about that world that, it has a very Japanese sensibility to it, a beauty in its environment and its art style that just wants to pull me in. Whenever I start playing it, I go from half an hour to 6 hours later, without even noticing. And usually just pissing about, not doing anything. I'm normally a very objective driven gamer. But in Zelda, I'm much more just in the world, just happy to be there.
And I think that's how they want you to play it. That's the genius of its design. I think.
Yeah,
from the
it is genius. It is genius. Yeah.
The small tutorial area is open but limits you in a clever way. Gives you everything you need. Teaches you what you need, along with the sort of sense of adventure, and then just says, "Oh yeah, your next thing you need to do is go over here." And so you start heading off in that direction, but you do so much. You just go whichever way you want. They do this. They do this very get lost in your own exploration.
They do this very conscious thing to set objectives a long way from where you get them.
Yeah,
which just makes you want to go to a tower and investigate a cave and look in a shrine and just bum around, just be. It's weird because there's meant to be this big imposing evil thing which has stolen the princess and you have to save the day. It's another one of those open world problems where the narrative tells you that you've got to hurry up and do a thing, and then the world tells you, "Oh man, chill." So that that's the problem with those types of games in general.
She has waited 100 years.
Yeah, she can wait a few more, can't she, Rich?
And you have forgotten everything, so you've kind of got an out there
that you have. Yeah. I mean, the story, the thrust, the main narrative of the game, it's like there's barely there, is it? I mean, it's just it's like a non-thing. But I don't even hold that against it. That just makes it more freeing. It's like you're under a little pressure to do stuff, which is a nice change. Like unlike Horizon or Assassin's Creed, Assassin's Creed, I must avenge my son's murder, which I did myself, but I must avenge that. Urgh! Templars, things. It's just like none of that. It's just hang about, mate. Chill out. I was the only one to talk about PUBG just now. I almost want to say maybe PUBG should be number one. How are you guys feeling about PUBG?
I feel like it would be unfair to give it number one when it's not finished. We're not playing that game, Rich. It's not how. Nowhere does it say in the bylaws of Bxb Games that it needs to be out of game preview to be considered a game of the year. So that don't mean nothing. I ain't talking about rules, mate. I'm just talking with the competition that it's got, things that have had so much time lavished on them to get them absolutely perfect. I can't find fault with Zelda. I can't find anything wrong with it. And when there's so many things that are wrong with PUBG, it's a brilliant game. I think it's fantastic, but it's not done. Zelda is. Zelda's at the top of its game.
So my ordering, how things are right now.
It's not too bad. On PUBG, yeah, the problem with it's got it where it counts, but they've got to polish it off now.
It's getting, it's weekly patches.
I know, it's getting
every
weekly
week.
patches, but yeah, that's its problem. It's got performance issues. It's got little glitches. It needs refinement. But as it stands, just gameplay alone, it's a fantastic experience, and that's why it's up where it is. But it's not deserving of the top spot.
Okay. So my numbering as it is right now.
So what we look.
So let me go through again. At number 5, Prey. At number 4, Mario. At number 3, Finch. At number 2, PUBG, and at number 1, Zelda.
I could go with that,
I can stomach it.
I think we're all making compromises here,
Yeah.
and that's how this works. We're all compromising. It's not how any of us would have our own personal list, but that's why we have our own personal lists. So this is a communal list.
I think eyes on the prize. I wanted Zelda to win, so.
I always knew you want everybody was kind of angling for Zelda to win. There's a reason it's the featured image for the article before we even talked about it on the show. I kind of suspected it would be at number 1. And I do you know what? I don't have a problem with that. It is as close to perfection in an open world game as I have ever seen. And it doesn't hurt that you can take it anywhere and play it. I mean, who thought, at the beginning of this year, we would be so obsessed with our Switches as we are now? I mean, I don't leave the house really without it. So if I'm carrying a bag, it's with me. So, yeah. Joel, what do you think? You've gone quiet.
Like I said, you're asking me to pick between my favourite children. The top 4 we've got here are all fantastic games. I might be personally tempted to swap Odyssey and Finch around, but that's just my personal preference. Other than that, we could probably sit here and nitpick over the final percent for hours, but yeah, no, as it stands, that's good. I'm happy to go with it.
Swapping Finch and Odyssey would work for me, but Ben, I know you really rate Finch above Mario.
I have to come at Mario from the perspective of a non-Mario gamer, because that's what I am, and I feel I'm not alone in that. There will be a lot of people picking up a Switch that have maybe never played on a Nintendo console before, and they'll be picking up Mario because everybody's raving about it. And to a non-Mario player, I just don't think it's as hot as it would be if you had been invested in that franchise since the original, or the SNES days or whatever.
Or at least the
3D
take, though. When you finish the main campaign in Odyssey, I'd be interested in your take on how you feel about it then.
Realistically, that's probably never going to happen, but if it does, I'll let you know.
It actually gets better after you finished it. No shit, it gets better.
Okay, that's the thing. I don't even know how that's possible, but okay. I am curious now. You've told me that. I just want all games to be the same length as Finch. Make every game under 3 hours. I'll be able to beat them all. Great. I mean, that would be ideal for me. Wow, are we there, guys? I think we're there. Yeah.
We're there, I think.
Let me do it then. Let me make it official. So, the best games of 2017 in ascending order are at number 5, Prey, which I think, frankly, is a great result for Prey. Prey should be very happy about that.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
No, I don't think you made a very, very good argument for it, guys. Very, very good. Super Mario Odyssey is at number 4, which is a pretty solid entry there. Number 3 is What Remains of Edith Finch. Number 2 is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which might well be number 1 next year, depending on if they finish it and make it even better. And number 1 is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Well done, Nintendo. Oh my god, their Switch has been a revelation in gaming. I think it really has.
It has. I'm sorry, Sony.
I just hope
PlayStation fans listening to this.
Are there none? No, there's none. No exclusives made the top 5. That is
Horizon was close, and I think had played Nier, there could have been maybe some scope.
Oh God, you guys should fucking please play Nier. I would love to talk. Maybe we'll talk about it on a future podcast if you guys ever sort it out this year and whatever. We'll do a big discussion about Nier because it's really fucking good. But I've hoped you've all enjoyed listening to this podcast. Do you guys enjoy doing it? I really enjoyed that discussion. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean we've done what today? 6 hours.
We're coming up. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not dead.
I think like you actually just froze as he said, "I'm not dead." That really couldn't have been timed any better than that, could it, Joe? I mean, that was pretty special. We'll come back in a second anyway. No, I definitely felt energized by this discussion. It's got a lot to do with the fact that 2017 had an amazing lineup of games. Oh, are you back from the dead, Richard? After saying I'm not dead, that was pretty special.
I actually am dead now.
Okay, you guys did that. But I can't wait to see what 2018 is going to bring. I just hope Nintendo can keep rolling on this amazing track record that they've established in their first year. I mean, I hope they have the games because, you know, that's what it's all going to be about. It's not just going to hopefully be third-party and indie ports, but we'll see what comes out this year on that. And then we'll do a podcast at some point soon, maybe looking at in more depth to what's coming up this year as well. So I hope everybody has enjoyed our Game of the Year deliberations. Once again, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is Bxb Games' top game for 2017. So with that, I shall say, please head over to bxbgames.co.uk to check out all our written content from Richard and Joel, and it's all fabulous, and check out their lists. Make sure you head over to YouTube to subscribe to the video side of things, where all my stuff usually lives, as well as on the website. Head over to iTunes and sub to this podcast if that's how you like to listen or you know, ingest this media. You can find me at DIYE on Twitter. You can find Richard at Colonel Red on Twitter. Joel doesn't have Twitter. We're on Facebook at BXB Games. Yeah, good year, guys. Looking forward to 2018.
I'm not sure how 2018 is going to live up to 2017, to be honest.
I don't think it can.
So, yeah.
I don't think it can.
I kind of hope it doesn't, so I can catch up.
That would be good. That would be good. Give me a few quiet months. But if Monster Hunter World's any good, that's going to be out soon, and that'll be a big one. So I look forward to seeing what that's like. But I think with that, I'm going to say bye-bye.
Indeed.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Speak to you soon.